Hey, Dave. Where's my,
We can go get that stuff.
I collect- oh, we don't have one. That's-
Use my phone.
Yeah.
Want to use my, look.
I'll take that.
Doesn't work.
There, yeah.
Then I was saying.
Cody, we don't-
Steve, what the issues mean.
Okay. Like to start the planning commission meeting Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. It is 6:32. Determination of a quorum. Mr. Kinney.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Reyes.
Here.
Mr. Burke is excused tonight. Mr. Price.
Here.
Mrs. Elderkin.
Here,
Secretary Anderson. Vice Chair Colunian. Chairman Flynn. We have a quorum of 8. We will need 5 for a positive vote tonight. Okay, emergency evacuation between, I'll go out those double doors behind you, out the left. My left goes to the back, my right goes to the front. We could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag, United States of America. To the republic. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before I start tonight, I have an announcement. Anybody here for Buckhorn will not have a public hearing tonight, but the attorney will give a quick PowerPoint presentation since it's been a while since we heard it and we have new board members. So if you want to stay for the presentation, you're more than welcome, but there will be no public hearing tonight on Buckhorn. It will be continued to June 28th. Okay, first on the agenda, we have approval of minutes, 5.1, March 29th, 2023, meeting minutes, they're revised. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to.
I have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Smith. We have any discussion on those minutes?
Were the changes brought to our attention and we just didn't?
Yeah, they have all the changes on these minutes.
Right. Okay. I thought Mr. Burke actually raised this issue at the last meeting
Yeah.
before we voted, but,
Yeah.
but okay. All right. So we're just re-voting.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 5.2, April 26, 2023, meeting minutes. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ray, second. Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have some ratifications tonight of decisions that have already been rendered. 6.1, 445 Fairview Avenue, owner B. Wayne Realty LLC, applicant Pazuko Construction and Company, conditional preliminary plan / comprehensive permit decision approval for proposed 5 residential units with the 25% deemed to be affordable on an existing multi-unit residential parcel consisting of 12 units, AP 63 lot 154, zone R20, with a total property area of 1.5 acres. And the address is 445 Fairview Avenue. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to ratify that decision,
I have
please.
a motion by Mr. Colonian. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Price. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 6.2 Rice City Estates, owner Pippin Orchard Investors LLC, CO attorney Tom Cronin, applicant same, conditional preliminary plan decision of approval for a proposed major residential 6-lot, single-family home subdivision with no street creation, AP 320 lot 77, zone RR5, Wright City Road. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kenny. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 6.3 Mo Cow Solar Owners, NARYA LLC, CO Frank A. Robinson IV, Lot 27.1, and Moo Cow LLC, CO Leo Blaze, Lot 28. Applicant EDPRNA Distribution Generation LLC. Conditional master plan decision on approval for construction of a 4.4 plus megawatt direct current ground mounted major solar installation AP 304 lot 27.1, 28, zone RR5, address 2446 Victory Highway. I have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to ratify that.
I have a motion by Mr. Kinney. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Price. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I have one opposition. Motion carries. Okay, I have a bond reduction. Staff has received an email on the bond reduction. The owners are not here tonight, but he is approving the numbers that are written on the agenda. It's for the Oaks at Hope Furnace, owner D2 Homes and Company, Robert DeBlois, manager, applicant, Hope Furnace Road Land Company, LLC, Robert DeBlois. Final plan approved, 32 single-family residential cluster subdivision with street creation to be built in 3 phases on combined lots, AP 89, Lot 3, AP 97, Lot 6, Zone RR2, Hope Furnace Road. The reduction for the phase is by 356,000 from 949,750 to 593,750. Do I hear a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Reyes. I have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion?
Just one quick thing. Joe, the memo from May 17th, all those figures as we just reported, everything's the same, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. I have a recommendation to zoning for a special use permit. 8.1. Langford Garage Addition, 2 Eagle Drive, owner Jenna LaFond. Applicant same. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to construct an attached 2-car garage with family room above on an existing non-conforming lot, AP 34, lot 88, zone R20. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Come on up. Name and address, please. Hi. If you just want to tell the board what you want to do there. And
He just wants to make sure the mic's working.
Thank you. Yeah, so basically, right now we have a detached 2-car or 1.5-car garage, I guess if you want to call it. So we want to tear that down and attach a 2-car garage to the property. It is in the R20 zoning district, so that minimum area coverage is supposed to be 20 square feet to 20,000 square feet, and our lot is only 7,841 square feet currently. So it's our existing non-conforming lot.
yes,
So, and then with that being said, the maximum lot coverage is 20% for that area, and we're already at 43% currently, and we just want to increase it by 1%. So we're going to be at 44% with this proposed garage addition plan. Above the 2-car garage is going to be a family room with an office and a home gym.
okay, is there anybody from the board have any questions? Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, just clarifications for the record. You illustrated the percent lot coverage, but from the drawing, it appears that in the before condition, you're 6.4 feet or 6 feet 4 inches from the property line. And the after, you're going to be 6 feet 8 inches from the property line. So it's actually a little
We're going to get
further
from that.
away.
Yep.
The distance from the front of the existing garage to the front of the proposed remains unchanged at 22 feet. And although the garage or that with the addition appears to be a little closer than the existing garage, the dwelling sets the rear line setback, and that has not changed.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Oh, one more thing, no bedrooms up there, right?
No bedrooms.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a favorable motion. Owner applicant, General Fund, address 2 Eagle Drive, AT 34, lot 88, R20 residential zoning district, single family dwelling. Single family dwelling with attached garage, that's the proposed use. The applicant seeking special use permit to expand a non-conforming structure by adding an attached garage on the left side of the house. The existing structure will be torn down to accommodate the new addition. Property has permanent access to Eagle Drive. Construction of the proposed expansion will not alter or affect the functionality of the existing driveway. So safe egress and egress vehicles haven't changed. Property has sufficient off-street parking. The property has adequate space for storage, trash receptacles, and room pickup. All the utilities are pre-existing. There should be no additional need for screening or buffering. No signs are proposed. Open space requirements are not applicable. The abutting properties in surrounding neighborhood is primarily single-family residential. This use is compatible with the abutting lots. Industry standards don't apply. Coventry comprehensive plan identifies the R20 zone as suburban areas characterized by medium density residential development. Proposal is compatible with the comprehensive plan. If the applicant is issued a special use permit, then this project should have no detrimental impacts on public health, safety, welfare, or morals. And I would like to include the planning director's report in my motion. That's all I have.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Reyes. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck in zoning.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another recommendation to zoning for special use permit. 8.2, Signer Garage, 399 Narrow Lane, owner Stephen A. and Amy W. Signer. Applicant same, applicant is seeking a special use permit to construct a detached 3-car garage in front of their house, AP 308, lot 37.2, zone RR5. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Steven Steiner, 399 Narrow Lane, Greenwood.
I got your name right. That's good.
You did, very good, thank you. Most don't.
If you want to just give a quick
Sure.
preview of what you want to do.
We're looking to build a 3-car garage in front of our house. If you look at the map, the lot should, it's an unusual lot. We are at the very back of the lot, so technically anything we build in front of the house is in front of the house. We can't build to the side on either the back or one side because we would be encroaching too close to Arnold Pond. And if we approach to the other side, we would actually cross over the adjacent property.
Just looking at the pictures. Does anybody have any questions from the board for the applicant while I'm reviewing them?
Yeah. So, in your explanation, you kind of gave us an indication as to why the garage had to be located where it's located.
Yes.
The height for a detached accessory structure and typically in this zone is not to exceed 22 feet.
Yes,
And in this case, it's going to be 27.
correct. We're looking for that variance as well, in order to keep with the existing, if you will, architecture of the other buildings on the property.
So you have the same type of roof line with the house that, see, we don't have that part in
Correct.
the packet. So
Yes,
that's why I'm asking. And then above the 3-car garage, what is that
Nothing.
space going to be used for?
nothing,
Solely storage,
solely storage.
no bedrooms,
No bedrooms.
no additional living units at some
Correct.
point in the future? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Mr. Signer.
Go ahead.
Thank you. About how many feet from the edge of the road to the garage?
Oh, approximately 1,300 feet.
Thank you.
You knew that, right?
I knew that.
Anybody else?
Just a note that we can go ahead and, if the motion is made, we can support a favorable recommendation for the special use permit, but I think the dimensional variance is really the, by the.
Yeah, zoning.
Yes, we have to appear there as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
Just a quick question. Are
Go
you
ahead.
gonna be Above the garage space that, Ira, is that gonna be open? Is it gonna be open to the garage?
It's
or
gonna be,
is-
we're leaving it high, so I can put a lift in to have cars
That's what I.
2 levels high. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make
Ah,
sure it was staying.
yep.
open.
I understand.
I wanted to make sure it wasn't, you know what I mean?
Oh, no,
So that
no.
eventually Somebody could put a room in there. you
No.
know what I mean?
So you're gonna
Yeah.
stack cars in the garage, so you have
Correct.
the ceiling height.
Correct. I have a couple of antique cars I need to find a home for.
Anybody else?
Not the same way.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a favorable motion on the project, recommendation to the zoning board, Stephen and Amy Signer, 399 Narrow Lane. Assessors plat 308, lot 37.2, zone RR5. For a 40 by 27 garage in the front yard, 1,000 feet off the road. Quickly go over this: ingress and egress, permanent physical access to the driveway off Narrow Lane. If anyone knows where it is, it's out in the country. Off-street parking, be a long way before you get to the house. There's plenty of parking. Trash store is not applicable. Utilities, everything is pre-existing. Screening, you're not going to see it. Signs not applicable. Required yards and other open space, they have plenty of it. General compatibility with other lots. The abutting properties and surrounding neighborhood are primarily single-family residential in the country. The general compatibility, the abutting properties and surrounding neighborhoods are primarily single-family. Read that. Will not create conditions that will exceed industrial performance, not applicable. General compatibility with Coventry Comp Plan. The proposal is consistent with the Coventry Comp Plan, and the granting will not result in conditions inimical to public health and safety. The granting of special use permit and dimensional variance will not affect the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. And also like to include the planning staff report that says they grant it with a favorable recommendation. That's
Okay,
it.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll take Mrs. Elderkin second this time. And all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck in zoning.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another recommendation to zoning for Mocow Solar, owners NARYA LLC, Frank A. Robinson IV, lot 27.1, and Mocow LLC, Leo Blaze. Applicant is seeking a special use permit for the construction of a 4.4 plus megawatt direct current DC ground mounted major solar installation, AP 304, lots 27, 28, zone RR5, 2446 Victory Highway. The reason they are in front of us again this month is because they got master plan approval. They have the right to go for zoning because it's a use for all residential areas, accepted use with a special use permit.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Name and address.
For the record, my name is Kelly Morris Salvatore. I'm here representing Mocow Solar. Regarding this matter that you just saw last month, full presentation was given by the engineer. We also provided a pretty in-depth zoning application. We are relying on the planning director's report, which finds consistency with the comprehensive plan, as well as summarizes the requirements for zoning, which we agree with the planner's recommendation. So we would ask for a favorable recommendation at this time so that we can move forward to the zoning board.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
Well, I just want to make a comment. I'm glad to see that you took our advice and you get back further from the highway. And it's generally centered in your property, which is good. Where you could because of basins and stuff. And you limited your tree clearing and left as much vegetation as possible. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back to see you at preliminary plan.
If you get the zone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anybody else?
So I'm like, go with our comprehensive plan. Technically, we don't have one in place at the moment. And if there is no residential, there is no business in the RR5 district. This is going into a rural residential area. This is clearly a business junction. It is not to power a house.
Sorry. It is not to power somebody's house or to power their farm. This is legitimately a money-making program. Therefore, it does not belong there. There are more suitable locations that it should be put in, on top of buildings, on top of rooftops, other areas, Superfund sites, which we have one here. It doesn't belong here. So I will go on record with that being said.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor, it's an accepted use in all residential zonings with a special use permit, and that's what we're hearing tonight.
Mike.
A special use permit, as you know, is a use that is conditionally permitted, subject to the conditions, as opposed to a variance, which is denied. So your code allows this use in that area by special use.
Okay, I just
A-
wanted.
a- as- Right, and as a result of the recent town council action, which allows it in RR5 with a special use permit, as opposed to the old zoning book that predated that.
That's correct.
you.
Council made that decision that you have to live by it.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. Anybody else on the board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for recommendation to zoning for special use permit.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a favorable recommendation to the zoning board for the application by EDPRNA Distributed Generation LLC at 0 and 2446 Victory Highway. For the reasons set forth in the planning director's report, I'm not going to read each one. And also in our ratification of decision for master plan approval that we approved earlier today. I'd like to incorporate both of those into my motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Clooney, and do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Kenny. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one opposition. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. It's not a public hearing. I really don't think we have to. It's up to you. You want to take it down?
I think so. Sure.
We don't have any. Yeah, let me,
No. It's being continued to public hearing portion. He's not going to make his presentation again. He should take it for now, because we need it.
yeah.
Yeah.
you wanna-
Nice.
Good point.
It's
Good
on
point.
order. Yeah.
Okay, we have a public hearing that's gonna be continued to June 28th. It's preliminary plans Buckshorn Meadow, owner Padula Builders and Company, Lot 80, and Padula Properties and Company, Lot 95, applicant same. Proposed 7-lot major cluster subdivision with tree creation, AP 315 lots 80, 95, 5, Old Flat River Road. Hello, Mr. Cronin.
Hello, Mr. Chairman.
So you're just gonna present to the board. We have some new board members. It's been quite a while since we've heard this, and there'll be no public hearing tonight.
Right, I thank the board for accepting my request for the continuance. The town engineer had some significant comments after our application. And we very recently responded to those comments. We want to give him time to consider our response. And because of that, I'm going to refrain from making any comments at all about drainage or the wetlands, just to keep it neutral.
Right.
So I do appreciate the opportunity to reintroduce the project. It has been more than a year and a half since master plan was approved, and it was right in the middle of COVID. So
It's a different set of circumstances. But what we have are two lots, AP 315 and Lot 80, which are about 53 acres of vacant woodland with some wetlands associated with that on Flat River Road in Weston Coventry, just west of Route 102 and very close to Susan Bowen Road. These lots will be merged by administrative subdivision as this project progresses. Although there's significant frontage on Susan Bowen Road, no access, driveway, street, utility, there'll be no access at all to Susan Bowen Road. All the access will be to Flat River Road, Route 117. So the area is RR5. This property is surrounded by well-maintained residential single-family homes without exception. There's nice houses all the way around. Master plan was approved, like we just mentioned, October 27th, 2021. The yield plan at that time showed that we could have 8 conforming house lots on the lot without variance from the zoning board. After the buildable area calculation, so we have to subtract some area for the wetlands, for the road that we propose and such. But after that, we come up with a 7.6 lots. And so, not because we're generous, but because the statute says so, we round down. So we have a 7-lot residential cluster subdivision that we are proposing on the 53-acre lot. The entrance to the subdivision, this is a busy map, but you can see the entrance to the subdivision is off of Flat River Road. It's going to be a 24-foot wide asphalt public street with what for a time we called Cape Cod berms, but really are just asphalt berms on each side. No sidewalks are proposed. The entrance is between Lot 79 and Lot 81. Those are residential homes. Folks live in them. So that roadway will go between those two houses. You can see from this slightly clearer map here, thank you, Cody, that the road has a slight curve to it. And what it does is as it enters into the area, it goes around a wetland, which you can see the bend there. So it skirts the edge of a wetland there, and there's a wetland buffer crossing at that point. So, DEM has to approve that, obviously. Once we get past that, it's fairly conventional design. So 7 house lots, each between 1.5 and 2.5 acres. Each has 1 home with a driveway access only to the new street. Each has a private well. We try to put each of those wells in the front of the house, and a private septic system, OWTS, which we have located to the rear of each house. The cul-de-sac is about 826 feet long. It has the requisite turn radius for the fire trucks, snow plows, and things like that. And you can see that we left some space on the end for the snow plow area, which is, as you guys are well aware, the significant design improvement recently after years of listening to nowhere to put the snow. Or we used to put the circle in the middle and dump it in there. Chuck does not like that idea. So the houses will be 4 bedrooms with attached garages, about 2,400 square feet. So the fire cistern is proposed for the area directly adjacent to Flat River Road and the new public street. Weston Coventry has given us some preliminary approval on that for location and size. We have to design that out for them for installation, and the planner made some notes about having a locking mechanism on it, which is a recent development as well. So the remaining portion of this property is about 37.5 acres, 37.51 acres. And you can see from the design here, it's the houses are all to the south, clustered close to Flat River Road, and the open space is to the north. So it's continuous 37.5 acres of deeded open space. Each of the 7 houses will have a deed restriction. There will be a homeowners association. Hopefully, if can we agree with the assessor, the taxation will be divided by 7. And the folks that live in this neighborhood will pay the taxes on the open space in addition to the property taxes. That's the most efficient way of approaching that. So that's the basic design. Like I said, I'm going to stay away from the drainage and wetland comments until the town engineer has time to evaluate our responses and look the matter over completely. So if, I don't know if anybody has any questions, we'd love to hear. If you have any questions before we come back next month, so we can address them, but that's the basic design of the site.
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Lowe.
So my understanding is lot size. I'm got it. So my understanding is the lot sizes are, what are they, 2 acres? Are
It's
they
1.5 to 2.5
1.5
acres.
to 2 acres? Okay,
Yes.
for the 7, and then the rest of the area surrounding is all the open land. So they'll only own their specific, how does that work? I'm just trying to
Sure.
understand how it works, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize. It's so you're right. Each of the 7 homeowners will own their lot. They're numbered here, 1 through 7.
Mhm.
And those are in the I was gonna say front, the south side of the property.
Mhm.
In the there was an 8th lot, but we're using that for drainage purposes.
Okay,
Also in that area. To the north of the most northern lot, which happens to be 3. Yeah.
okay,
Is it 4? 4. All of the rest of that land will be open space, 1 lot, open space,
okay,
and it'll be deeded open space. So it'll have all the usual restrictions that we talked about before this board. No motorized vehicles, no permanent structures, no construction, no further expansion of this neighborhood.
okay. So they can't split it and sell it again or?
Cannot
Gotcha.
re-subdivide it, right?
Okay, I just wanted clarification because I
Sure.
didn't understand how that deeded piece was gonna work, the extra land.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good question.
Could-
You all set?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
and just for clarification, because I know as long as I have, so there have been subdivisions where they've deeded the 37-acre piece over to the town, and it's been difficult to manage.
Yeah.
So what they do is they give each of the 7 unit owners 1/7 interest in the 37 acres. So now they have to basically pay taxes. They can't let it go to tax sale and then the town inherit, it goes right with their lot.
Okay,
So they're all kind of responsible, and none of them could ever sell it or transfer it unless all 7 agreed, and the restrictions may prohibit that.
okay.
So that's
perfect.
kind of the protection. So that's kind of the way I think we started liking to do it over at least the past.
I think
several
we
years.
have kind of hit our stride in this area, and that's how we're doing it now. Yes.
Okay, and that also includes that drainage lot, is that correct? They all also
It
get,
will include the drainage lot. So if you looked at this map, I promised I wouldn't talk about drainage, but if you look at this map, on the eastern side, southeastern corner, there was a lot 8 there. It just says drainage lot on it. I think I right now. And that's where the street drainage will be located.
correct. And we will defer that till the next time. I
Right.
do have 2 quick questions, Mr. Cronin. You mentioned no sidewalks. Was that a waiver that we granted at Master, or is that something you're going to be looking for?
That's before this board right now.
Okay, because I didn't see anything in the report about waivers. And how about the length of the roadway? Is that also, or is 826 feet?
I think we squeaked it in. I think it's short enough,
Okay,
in
all
other words,
right.
but we'll check.
Okay, so those would be the only 2 things. Are you aware of any other variances that you would need where this subdivision?
I'm going to ask for a waiver on counting the trees over 50 years old.
I'm not doing it.
No, can't find any volunteers for that. That's the only other way.
And my only other comment was, and I've seen this in some of the new subdivisions coming along, I didn't see it mentioned in this one, you got to deal with the mailboxes up front.
I saw that in the planner's report, and honestly, until
Yeah.
I
It's a
read,
postal, I'm finding out it's a postal regulation that passed a few years back. They don't want to drive the trucks down. They don't care if there's a cul-de-sac. You got to have some place for them to leave mail at the beginning.
So it's currently not in our subdivision regulations, but it's a postal regulation. So it
And-
will be in our subdivision regulation.
I-
Better,
I
better
think-
to deal
yeah.
with it now than
Yeah.
otherwise the homeowners start
We're looking
calling.
for a box out front.
I think my clients would probably rather comply than fight the United States Postal
Well,
Service.
my point was at least
Yeah.
ask the question now rather
Yeah.
than find out.
Oh, I
after
did see
it's
it.
built.
Yeah.
Because if
okay.
once it's built, then the homeowners are stuck having to deal with it, which is the case with two I can think of.
Sure. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, I do. So
Go ahead,
Mr.
Mr.
Cronin,
Smith.
the lot number 8, that's the drainage lot. Some sort of language in the covenants or the restrictions that the homeowners association would have to maintain that. We found in the past, the town ended up taking care of those drainage retention basins and detention basins. They weren't maintained and overgrown over time. And it wasn't clear that the HOA had to take care of that. So
Yeah.
defer to the town engineer.
Yeah, so just to add something to that, I will be asking for a maintenance plan, so they can turn it over to the homeowners association. Gives a schedule exactly what needs to be performed on a yearly basis, monthly, whatever's required.
That's what I would be looking for,
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
So it belongs to them and they understand it and they'd have to have a landscaper come in and take care of it.
That is one of the items that the town engineer has requested from us,
Okay,
in the comments and one that we're responding to.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Cronin. Did we discuss a fire road that was at one point gonna come out on Susan Bone, or is this okay with just the one entrance?
I did not present this at master plan, Mr. Anderson, and I apologize for that lack of knowledge, but I didn't see anything in the decision or in the application about a fire.
So I'm unsure if there's a requirement because it's just one entrance. I don't know if the width determines that that's good enough or we need that secondary road just in case. Just asking.
Some of that has to do with the length of cul-de-sac question that Mr. Clunian asked. I can check with the attorney from our office who presented master plan and see what her recollection is on that. I didn't see it in any of the town documents or our documents.
And maybe I should know it by now, right? But I don't know if that would be a fire department requirement, if the fire marshal looks into it. I don't know.
Yeah, if I could, I think it has to do with the length of
Yep.
the road and the number of houses. Because if there's an incident, they want to make sure there's a way to get out. But if there's 7 houses on a short road, it's up to them. But you'll
Yeah.
just check and comply or ask for the waiver.
Yes.
Yeah, the fire department will give you the approval. So,
Yeah, quite honestly, I think Mr. Anderson, it'd be very difficult to get out anywhere on this lot.
Yep.
There's quite a bit of buffer associated with the wetland.
that's wet.
That's another way of saying it. Yeah.
Anybody else? I think
All
we're
right.
good, Mr. Cronin.
I'll see you in June. I appreciate the.
Right, and
questions.
would you be recapping for the public hearing? I mean, we did have the stenographer
Of
take
course.
notes, so the public will hear it, have another opportunity if they.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
I
just was,
wanted
this was a slow developing project and more than a year and a half has passed since master plan with several new members on the board. Just felt like an opportunity to reintroduce it would generate some discussion. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. See you on the 28th. And just for the people out there, you will not get any letters or notice because it's continued to the 28th. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
we have 5 minutes.
absolutely.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Oh, yeah, let me,
Good point.
sorry.
Can I have a motion to continue Buckhorn Meadow to June 28th? Public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we move Buckshorn Meadow public hearing to June 28th.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mrs. Alderkin. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Hey, we have a 10.2 public hearing, preliminary plan, Calvin Town subdivision, owners, Calvin Town Realty LLC and Rockwood Realty LLC, applicant, Revity Energy. Proposed 18 lot residential cluster subdivision with street creation, AP 85 lots 1 and 5.3 and AP 92 lot 1 zone RR2, rural residential, Calvin Town Road. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Joseph Brennan on behalf of the applicants at 51 Jefferson Boulevard, Suite 400, Warwick, Rhode Island, 02888. The application that you have before you, as you stated, is for a preliminary approval. They had been before you last year for master plan approval. I was actually before you last month for the extension of that master plan out of precaution. And then here we are now looking for the preliminary. The application that you have before you is for a subdivision. The total area is of assessors plat 85 lots 1 and 5.3, and including assessors plat 92 lot 1 to bring the total site to 44.95 acres. It would be an 18 lot subdivision with the 2 cul-de-sacs that you see there. We haven't had any issue with that in regards to fire. I know that often comes up with the second form of egress. And that is actually one of the waivers that we are asking for, but I'll summarize those when we get to it. Additionally, as part of the project, we are proposing to have 23.99 acres of open space. According to the report, it's 17.98 is actually required. So you have an abundance of 6+ acres, which I think is a great benefit to the town. And as stated, I saw in the staff report, as a condition of approval, the same thing that Mr. Cronin went over in regards to open space and how that's handled here in the town of Coventry. And we'll adhere to all those regulations and the approval of that homeowners association manual that gets submitted to the town. As part of the project, it will be serviced by public water and underground utilities. There will be on-site wastewater treatment systems for each lot that will have to be approved by DEM. We're still going through that process. That's one of the waivers we're asking for at this stage. But as a whole, that really does summarize the project. I think going through the waivers that we're asking for will help kind of summarize maybe possible issues that the board may see. But the first one from the major subdivision checklist is the RI DEM site suitability for the on-site wastewater treatment systems. Their application is just pending before them. They're really backed up. Things take a while, and we understand that we have a lot of different types of soils here. So obviously, anything that gets approved as part of this will always be subject to that condition. So we would just ask that that could be reviewed administratively by the town staff for final approval. Additionally is for the Kent County Water Authority final approval, confirmation from DEM on the adequate soils that I had stated. The RIDM remedial action work plan approval, I actually believe that had been finalized. I'm not sure if the town engineer had an opportunity to review that, but that should act. I don't even know if we need that waiver anymore, although it's here. And then the residential cluster association and maintenance agreement, and the traffic study, that was another one. I know we have an 18 lot subdivision, but it doesn't seem as though traffic is any type of concern from everything that we've looked into and from what the board mentioned at master plan. So we would ask that that item be waived as well as part of the submission requirements. We're just kind of asking for out of an abundance of caution, just to have a full buttoned up approval to come time for final. Additionally, from the subdivision and land development regulation waivers, drainage facilities within 30 feet of any residential building or accessory structure, for proposed lines of 13 and 14 within the proposed subdivision. It's based, the reason we asked for that is for the utilization of an existing low spot on the site. It makes it more favorable and better for the lot. So that's why we're asking for that waiver. Same with the cul-de-sacs, as I had mentioned, and then the sidewalks and bike walks, we're requesting a waiver from that requirement as well. We have reviewed the staff conditions and recommendations. We have no objection to any of them. outside of course, asking for the, those waivers. And I see also the cluster mailbox, which came up, which we'll also adhere to and have no problem with and fully understand. If the board has any questions, we do have, I think, our entire team here today. Probably most important, Jenna Shea from Dupree Engineering, because I know at preliminary stage, engineering is the main topic here.
Okay,
Thank
if I
you.
can just add, in all our packets, we received an email from a Craig Baum, Balme. I just wanted him to know that, you know, we did take his email serious. I don't know if you saw it. It's here if you need to see it. But, you know, we couldn't respond because it would be an ethics violation. I
Okay.
just wanted to put that out there that we do have it in the packet. Yeah, before I open up public hearing, if you want to do your presentation.
Yeah, I'll bring up Jenna Shea.
All right, thank you. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Jenna Shea, SHEA, and I am a project manager at Dupree Engineering, which is located at 2 Stafford Court in Cranston, Rhode Island. And before I begin my presentation, I just wanted to clarify that we will no longer need a waiver from the KCWA approval. We have since received the approval and we've submitted it along with our submission package. So to begin my presentation, good evening. I'm here to present the preliminary submission for the Colvintown subdivision project. The project is located on AP 85 Lot 1 and AP 92 Lot 1. The project site has frontage on Colvintown Road, and it was currently wooded today, but in existing conditions, it has been since cleared. This is due to environmental contamination that was found on the site, and RIDEM has required us to do extensive testing on the site, which was completed by Hoffman Engineering. The contamination was in the form of glass, and the BUD approval has been received by RIDEM. And if there's any further questions in regard to this approval, our environmental engineer from Hoffman Engineering is here with us today as well. On the site, there are two wetlands. There's one isolated wetland located in the northwest corner of the site. And there is also a large wetland along the western edge of the property. All of these wetlands have been flagged by Natural Resource Services, and we have received a wetland preliminary determination approval from RIDEM for the proposed development. As a part of our proposed development, we are proposing 18 lots for a residential subdivision with an entrance road on Colvintown Road. The roadway would have 2 cul-de-sacs, so it would be one roadway that splits off into 2 cul-de-sacs, shown as Road A and B on our site plans. If you could please go to the site plan sheet. Yes, it is. The next sheet. Thank you very much. So as you can see on the site plan, we have Road A and then we also have Road B. These roads would be public roadways, and all buildings on this property would conform to the standard setbacks of the RR2 zone of the property. The 18 single-family homes would be proposed as 3 bedrooms, and each lot will include a private dry well, which would treat the roof runoff for the house, a private septic system, and a private driveway. The fire department has reviewed the proposed development, and they have okayed the fire hydrant and the lighting locations as shown on the plans, and they have expressed no concerns with access throughout the site. The drainage on site, and if you could please go to the next sheet. So, up one more. Thank you very much. So as you can see on this site plan, as a part of our proposed drainage design, we did exploratory soil testing prior to the design to find the best locations for the drainage practices. Pond Complex A which is located in the top corner of this plan. And then also Pond Complex B. Both will include pre-treatment as required by RIDEM, and then also a water quality sand filter and an infiltration area that will be used to mitigate volumes and flows in order to prevent an increase in flow from the existing conditions today. Pond C, which is located in the bottom of the page in the center, that pond is proposed in order to help mitigate flows and volume on site. The overflow from this detention basin will run into the proposed drainage network that is throughout the streets of the development and will flow ultimately into one of the pond complexes. The design has been reviewed by the town engineer, and as of this morning, we were informed that we have sufficiently addressed these comments and there are no further concerns. And this design has also, as I previously mentioned, been reviewed by RIDEM, and we have received that approval to date as well. To prevent any clearing beyond the limits shown on the site plans, we have added no disturb easements per request of the town engineer, and we have designated these on the plans. The plans that you are seeing here today do not reflect those easements since we have added them after the date of sending these plans. Each drainage basin will include a drainage easement for access and is located on its own lot and will also be surrounded by a fence for safety purposes. For utilities on the site, we will have public water. And as I have mentioned, the KCWA approval has been received and they completed a full water model as a part of their review process. For sewer, each lot will have a private septic system located on their property. At this time, we do not have a RIDEM site suitability approval. This is due to a request for additional testing in areas of the property. And once this additional testing has been coordinated and completed, we will then work with RIDEM to receive the site suitability approval. For open space on the property, the cluster developments, they require a 40% open space with a maximum of 50% unsuitable area within this open space area. And the proposed site plan does provide over the required amount. And with that, that will conclude my presentation. And if you have any questions for me, feel free.
Can you just explain to the board where the no-cut easements are on the map?
Yes. So they are, if you go to the next sheet, they are located behind, so down at the bottom of the page, those lots down on that end.
Is it 7 and 6?
This lot and this lot.
All right, what about 7? I know 6. So there's no further cutting of trees.
So there will be no further cutting of
Okay.
trees. So once, when construction starts, we will not be doing any more clearing
Okay.
in the areas that are beyond the limit of work.
No,
Has some of it already?
it's all cleared, right?
It's, yeah, the site has been cleared for environmental remediation purposes.
And I noticed in the cul-de-sacs, you have islands. It looks like we have islands on the map. Well, we don't want islands in the cul-de-sacs.
You do not want islands.
No. So if you can just make sure there's no islands.
Yep, no problem.
And I know at master plan, we talked about a buffer for specifically Mr. Orobona's property. I want to make sure there's enough buffer for Mr. Baum and also for the people on Watercrest. We talked about a buffer because you did take down a lot of trees. So
Right. So we do have,
if you
so
could put arborvitae's or some plantings.
right. So we do have a landscape architect here with us today as well. And then as you can see on the site plan, so sheet 7, everything shown in green is part of the open space.
Yes.
So that area would be a buffer to the abutters as required by your subdivision laws. And then also the no disturb easement, I can actually, this is the plan that we submitted to the town
Yeah,
engineer.
I'm looking at it.
Okay,
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, Mr. Chairman, that we agree to any of the buffering that you want to see. You can just put that right into the approval. We'll put abrevieties or like, if you want to put that into the.
Yeah, it's
approval.
something
Yeah,
bear
no
resistant. I
problem.
think the green giant arborvitae's, I mean, you're working with the neighbors, so
Certainly,
I like that you reach out to the neighbors and work with them.
certainly.
Because, you know, this is a new project. They're not used to having anything there, and we did discuss, you know, some type of buffering in the landscape design for the adjacent neighbors.
No
So
problem. Yeah,
I would
thank you.
appreciate that as me, anyway.
Certainly.
no problem. Thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any questions?
I have a few things. So, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I see, first off, it looks like a portion of property is going to be deeded from the parcel to the north. Is that going to be dealt with as like an administrative subdivision? You're gonna, the lot to the north, which is Rockwood Realty, I know that was, you know, there was some type of relationship early on. At this point, they're just going to deed over that 17,000 or so square feet, add it to these two lots, and that's it. That property is out of the picture for us.
Yeah, it will most likely be an easement that they'll provide, but that acreage isn't required for the ordinance. Whether, even if we didn't have that additional acreage on the back, we'd still be able to meet all of the regulations from a zoning standpoint.
So what's the purpose then? It says to be acquired on the plan. That's why.
Are you using
So-
that for open space?
No, so this area is due to the soil testing on the lots in this area. So that area was required for the septic on those lots.
So we're working with them for an easement for the septic systems.
The septic system's that far back from the two dwellings that are proposed up at the front. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same area, the crosshatched area to the back of lots 11 and 12. Yep.
So the septic had to be placed that far back just because of the soil testing results, which occurred in
Okay.
that area.
And that was kind of going to my next question. I know you don't have on-site wastewater treatment systems approved and you haven't got your site suitability. What are you getting over there? Water tables, or is it the permeability, the drainage, as far as the septic systems? I mean, do you have high water table there, or?
It's just, it was due to the contamination, and then also the type of soil and fill that was there. So and then they just wanted more testing to just quantify and completely under.
No. Yeah, okay. I got that part. I'm just still trying to figure out why you would put a septic system. It looks like, God, 250 feet to the rear of the dwelling.
Right, and you can see a lot of the properties
Yeah, we have that
within
on
the
lot 6
subdivision
also.
had to get moved back for the same purpose. It was the soils in that area were just not
That
usable
lot 6
for-
also.
And you don't foresee any maintenance issue for the homeowner in the future with a line that long to go from the dwelling to the septic system?
I don't see any concerns or issues in that. I know that there's a lot of public septic that's used for many residential properties that have long lines as well. So I think as long as these are maintained.
Yeah,
the way
I
that they
think,
should
well,
be.
hopefully that will be the case. And I know you talked about a remedial action work plan. Is there going to be any type of environmental land use restriction placed on these properties, or is this basically a total cleanup to get it to residential standards and you're out of there?
Yeah. It's a total cleanup, yes.
So that no environmental land use restriction in the future,
None,
and it'll all be suitable for residential
correct.
development. And I noticed there is a Kent County Water Authority easement coming in from Collintown Road, and I believe that's already in place. The easement was recorded. What is that for? Just a water service?
This is
So
just water
you're bringing it
service.
in that way? Now, are they going to be able to go in and out of there with trucks and equipment on an as-needed basis? And it's a positive. Again, my thought was, and I know you said the fire department was okay with not the alternate access, but is Calvintown Realty Trust the same principles? Totally different? Okay.
If you want to come up and just. you know,
Is he with them or?
Are you with the public? All right, I'll wait till public. I open public hearing. I thought
Okay,
you were
yeah,
with-
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I was just trying to see if that would also be a suitable means of a second emergency access, because it looked like if that was going to be cleared for a water line and you could just put a gravel access road into lot 6 in the event of an emergency, it would just be an option. I realize you say the fire department was okay, but that's a long cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I think the problem may also have to do with, there's other uses for that we're trying to not disturb in that area already that exists that is outside of ours. So even through that water line, I think there's a driveway that shows there, and we'd have to take a neighbor's driveway away from them. And we're trying to avoid that and cause the least amount of disturbance to them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so in other words, the easement that Kent County Water Authority acquired
Goes
on
through
your
there.
property actually goes through the abutting property owner to get you water service, and it goes right down their driveway.
Yeah.
So
This paper street per se is part of our property. I believe this is a
okay.
property line. Kind of.
oh, so in other words, the driveway may be encroaching on your
Yes.
property, so you want to resolve that.
And we'll
encroachment.
have an easement with that owner.
Okay. Okay. So in other words, to cure this thing, not only is Kent County Water Authority going to get an easement, I assume you're going to somehow work with the property owner to give them legal permission to be there in the future.
Yes.
It's totally up to you. I wouldn't object if that's the case and you don't want to use this as your emergency access. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels. We can either hold on to that and say, well, in an emergency, we got to use their driveway to get in, or you could just deed it to them and completely get it off the plan. But I'll leave that up to you. Okay. Oh, and my final question was, and I may have already asked this, you've got a sidewalk coming in on this one side of the street? Is there a sidewalk on the interior?
So we are requesting a waiver from the sidewalk requirement at this time. So we actually, in the revised plans for the town engineer, we've actually removed the sidewalk from the plans in a request for a waiver from that requirement.
But at Master, didn't we allow sidewalks only on one side of the road already?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of sticking with that, to tell you the truth.
Is the road width didn't change,
It
but
did
you
not.
took the sidewalks out.
Correct. Just in an attempt to decrease the amount of impervious area.
Right.
We have modeled the design as if those sidewalks are in the design model. So we've conservatively modeled those.
If I could just respond to the sidewalks quickly. We don't have the regulations with us, but we were under the impression that the regulations had stated that the sidewalks were needed if you were near a school or like public, and we're not near one of those. So we didn't think that they would be necessary for us, and that we fall under that condition.
Normally, we do require sidewalks in a populated area, in a cul-de-sac. We have the right to waive them.
Okay.
But our engineer is here. I know we've had issues with retention areas. I know people don't use the sidewalks, but if you're gonna take away from the sidewalks, I'd like to see a little more road width, because people walk in the road. It's only gonna be the people that are in that cul-de-sac that's gonna walk in that cul-de-sac.
What is the road width that you're proposing?
Is that a 26,
The right of way width is 60 feet and the pavement width is 26 feet.
26?
That's not a lot of room for two cars and a pedestrian or kids on bikes. And it's just,
We
And-
just
and-
did a whole furnace,
yeah.
28 feet road width.
and I'm somewhat, believe me, I'm somewhat empathetic with the stormwater and everything else, but really what it comes down to is to squeeze extra lots. The waiver up at Pond Complex A, because of the proximity to the dwellings, is because you needed to get 2 more house lots in up there. If those 2 houses weren't there, there wouldn't have been an issue. And now we got the sidewalk with the impervious soil, and that's only attributable to the fact that there's so much other pavement going in there to accommodate 18 houses instead of 16 or 15 or 14 or whatever the number might be. I mean, I can appreciate 18 houses on a 45-acre site, but you get to the point where, you know, we're really threading a needle here with the septic systems, the soil conditions, septic systems 250 feet from the dwellings, stormwater waivers, now no sidewalks because of stormwater. There's some environmental challenges that you have to deal with, but it's the risk you take.
I would like to clarify, just in response to your comment, the sidewalks, the impervious area that would be from the sidewalks has been incorporated into our design model. So conservatively, if they were to be required, they have already been accounted for in our design.
So what, do you know why the suggestion was made to take them out? Was it like, cause it's maintenance or
I don't know the reason.
do you know who gave it, Kevin? Or,
No,
No, it's the first time.
yeah, who asked, who said whose suggestion was it that we eliminated? Did it come from the town?
We're just requesting the waiver
Oh, okay.
and then,
But it is calculated with the sidewalk.
correct.
Because the road width, if you're gonna stick with a 26-foot road width curb to curb, I would like to see the sidewalk on one side. If you can increase the road width to 28 feet, maybe I'll be acceptable, in my opinion, to eliminate the sidewalk. I
Which
know
would
people-
also be accounted for in our
Right.
design model, the way it is today.
Mr. Chairman, we can agree to the sidewalks on one side, as was stated at the master plan. That's no
Okay,
problem.
'cause, I mean, it's in an it's an R2, but it's in an R20 area. Watercrest surrounding areas all have sidewalks. I just want to be consistent.
Yeah,
So if
thank
you'll
you. We
agree to that,
understand. We do.
Me personally, I'd like to see the sidewalk.
I don't have anything else, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
The contamination that was mentioned on the site, just glass,
Yes,
just glass.
I believe so. We do have our environmental engineer. here
we can have
today.
him come up and explain it to you if you
Yeah,
like.
because I just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
not hazardous.
Right,
Sure.
just glass. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he could come up. Name and address, please.
Eli Salisbury, 212 Lyon, Lyon Avenue in East Providence.
Thank you.
Yes, the primary contaminant is glass. It's considered solid waste by definition. Because it's there, the DEM is requiring them to remove it. Other than that, there was some naturally occurring metals in a single soil sample that we
But
took.
it wasn't deemed hazardous.
No, naturally occurring metals in a single soil sample that we took.
But it wasn't deemed.
It's not hazardous waste.
It was just legally dumped.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not like a super fun site or anything. like
No,
that,
no,
just
no.
Glass.
Correct.
That
Yeah,
was-
I know
and
that property very well.
Yeah,
yeah.
I do too. Yep, and I know who did it back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Where it came from. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
So you
Anybody
can't,
else?
yeah, you can't really just separate the glass from the soil. So what are you doing? Just cutting off, stripping soil off and bringing soil back in? Is that basically the remedial action? work?
more or less, yes.
Right.
Removing the cover material, excavating the glass is intermixed with soil and a little
Right.
bit of household waste. They'll end up processing that through a trommel, hand picking through it, removing the larger, I mean, if you've been out there, there's 10-pound chunks of glass.
Yeah.
They can either crush that or recycle it as glass. They have a approved beneficial use determination from DEM to be able to reuse that material as road base on another property.
So they'll have to replace it with fresh soil coming into the site. They're not going to try to reuse it on that site, clean it.
No, no.
You
Yep.
can't unmix the ice. Okay.
Right,
Got
right. And before it is taken off-site, we're going to be stockpiling it and sampling it to verify that it's compliant with the direct exposure and leachability standards.
Okay.
Mr. Price, are you all set, Mr. Smith?
I'm all set. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Price, go ahead.
Back to the erosion and control plan, the Kent County water easement goes underneath what I assume is a temporary sediment basin.
Thank you. It goes underneath a temporary sediment basin. They're shown orange in the plans, but magenta in the erosion control legend. But anyways, is the water line being placed before the sediment basin traps or after? If so, is there enough clearance below them? What do the grades look like there?
So we do have the ability and flexibility to move the sediment traps throughout the site, as long as the contractor is coordinating with the design engineer. So if there is a conflict with the water line, we can move that location to a different area.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? You have anybody else coming up, before I open up public hearing?
We do not, Mr. Chairman, I'll let the board ask questions.
Yeah, well, there'll be questions after, but I want to get the feedback from the public.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open up public hearing. Have a
I'll make a
by
motion, to open up public
Mr.
hearing.
Reyes, have a second? Second by Mr. Kenny. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is now open. I'm gonna go to my left on that side. Everybody will have a chance to speak. If it becomes redundant, just come up and say, I agree with this person. So we'll start on the left side. Anybody want to come up? Come on up. Just name and address, please.
Nick Del Bracco, 104. What? Nick Del Bracco, 104 Colvin Town. DELBROCCO. Question I have, several, but the first one is, do we think they're gonna be doing any blasting? Because when I did look at the plans, there was a fair amount of ledge.
So he's gonna write down the questions
Okay,
and then we'll answer. I'll let him
Okay.
We're gonna do it as a whole.
okay,
He'll answer the questions and then you can always come back up if they're not satisfactory.
okay.
So he's writing that down now. Of one of the questions for blasting.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
All right, the other one I have is the ponds. Do those, I mean, when we get torrential downpours, and that's at the back end of our property, will those have a tendency to overflow and come back?
I'll
towards
let
the-
their engineer, I'll
towards
let
the
their
property?
engineer review, answer that. It's a good question.
And are they gonna do the cleanup on the site itself? Or are they gonna haul that off in containers and then have that cleaned up at a recycling plant?
Right, and I believe he answered that, but I'll let him answer it. I believe they're gonna do it on site, have it tested and then remove, but I'll let them answer.
And then when they took a single sample from the foreign material, not the glass, why didn't they take more samples than just a single sample? I guess in my.
Yeah,
And then my other question is, you said you're gonna build 3-bedroom family homes with a private driveway. Are there gonna be garages? I mean, what are these houses gonna look like?
He'll answer that, but I believe they're 3 to 4 bedroom septic designs.
And then on the plan, some of the houses were built on half acres or less, and then some of the houses were an acre plus. One of them was 1.73 acres, I believe. According to RR2, a house can't be, you can't develop that property unless it's more than or not less than 1 acre. So, like I said, some of these, or most of them are less than an acre. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anybody else on this side like to come up? I'm seeing nobody. Anybody on the right side, my right side? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Mary Ann Cicercia, CICERCHIA, 76 Calvin Town Road.
Thank you.
Okay. My concern, they said they did a traffic study. I was concerned on a traffic and noise study in the area. Is the traffic study just on what would happen in those cul-de-sacs or the effect on the traffic, extreme traffic that's already on Calvin Town Road and extreme noise? We have, anyone who lives in that area is aware of the amount of truck traffic that we have. And I'm not talking about pickup truck. I'm talking about construction vehicles from the gravel pit. They used to be regular dump trucks. Now they're 18, 20 wheeler trucks.
48
Um,
dump.
There, a couple went by today that look like container trucks. We have no sidewalks on Calvin Town Road. I mean, there's always this discussion of sidewalks. I don't think between my property and the property across the street, it's more than 21 feet. People walk on that street, get your life put into, you're just taking your life into your own hands. So to add 18 houses, each house will have approximately 2 cars. That's another 36 minimum cars. The noise, the traffic, that's my biggest concern. Also, a few years ago, I guess when this was originally approved, I guess the company or whoever went in and clear cut all that land, and then there became a problem. The property's a mess. There's loads of ledge, rock there. Is that going to be cleaned up at all? Now that you're putting 18, what do you do with all of the rest of that open land? You clear cut it. Again, it was a mess. People were complaining before about clear cutting with the wildlife. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to be landscaping that at all? Again, there is one way in and one way out. Somebody made a comment, they were concerned with the cul-de-sac being long about fire trucks going in. Keep in mind, when it's the end of Teakwood, I don't know what the name of the property is. They built like 75 to 100.
I was just sneezed. I said, like.
Okay. That area, there's only one road in and one road out there. So really, I think there's concerns that should have been brought up years ago and that were brought up. And I feel the town, the planning board, they just ignore it and houses get put in. But for those of us who live in that area, lived in and really suffer over the years with the amount of traffic and noise, speeding, just take that into consideration.
Yeah, just one comment. I live on Calvin.
I know you do.
Teakwood used to be one way in and one way out. Out of good planning from this board, we linked with the Luba Road.
Well, that was just recent.
I
That
know,
wasn't
but
that long
it's
ago.
not one way
Mm.
out anymore because there was a fire on Hyde Street and
Mm.
nobody could get out of it.
Right.
So it was addressed in the development on Luba Road.
Mm.
So that
Okay.
definitely helped that area. But thank you for your comments and writing them down. and We will be answering.
Okay, thank you.
very much. Anybody else on this side of the room? Come on up, sir.
Sorry about jumping in.
Oh, no problem. No, name and address.
Daniel Largy, Largey. My concern was just the, you said potential easement, second egress right down, at, making sure over here.
Yes.
That's very concerning for myself and my neighbor, because it's like a common driveway. I'm not really sure. We don't have access to it. I mean, we actually been using it the last 30 years or whatever it's been there. But I don't know what our legal rights are to actually use that again. He did mention that he might give us some sort of easement, but which is appreciative. And I don't see all that wrong, but I just curious what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah.
I know they want a waterway through there.
It sounds like they're gonna address that.
That's right. I get that impression too. Yes,
Oh. You didn't get the address.
I'm sorry. It's 96 Covington Road.
So you're in the body of the easement property.
Yes. I'm not really, it's not really an easement. It's their property.
Right, but they granted an easement.
Oh, yes, but that's not my easement.
No, no, that's a separate issue. That's why I
Separate
asked
issue.
if- I asked if they would open that up. No, we're already working with the butters.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous that they're gonna dig it all up, but it's not my property, so they have the right to do that. I just hope they are good neighbors about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him answer it, but it sounds like they.
That's kind of, I don't even want to bring it up. If you did mention he was reaching to the other butters, but I haven't talked to anyone about this.
All right,
Okay,
thank you very much. Anybody else on this side? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
The name is Edward E. Sullivan, 159 Calvin Town Road. I'm concerned about what's best for the two homeowners on those house lots that will be given an easement instead of an outright ownership of that back end of their properties. What is better for their interest, an easement from lot 1, flat 92, or an outright grant of land belonging to them by use of administrative subdivision? That was my concern. That's all I need
Okay,
to say.
thank you. He'll address that. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom, Cody? Anybody on Zoom, put your hand up, please. No. Okay, I'm gonna keep public hearing open. If you want to come up and address those questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll have Jenna come up with me. I guess we'll just kind of go through them in order and whoever's more appropriate to answer can. So the first one was the blasting. In all honesty, that's somewhat kind of an unknown at this point. We don't anticipate it. We don't think that there is any, but I think this board probably knows very well. There's a complex process that you have to go to. State Fire Marshal looks into it. You have to do surveys of the area, the around area before and after. It's a big ordeal to do that kind of stuff. But we don't, as of right now, we don't think that there will be any that's necessary. I'll have Jenna answer about the ponds and the overflow.
If I can just add to that.
Sure.
I built a house on Calvin Town Road. I did not blast, but they hammer drilled for 2 days.
Okay.
So yes, it's unknown.
Yeah.
You really don't know. But in a residential area, you're gonna have to put mats. It's not like you're gonna see a nuclear explosion for blasting. They have to mat it. I
Yeah.
just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you.
went
I
through that
appreciate it. It's a process.
And the neighbors would be notified
Yeah.
if that
Yes,
changes.
that's correct too.
Okay.
And also bond.
Yes, it's a
Yes,
process.
it's a big
Yeah.
problem. You really don't want it.
No,
You don't know. It's
neither
unknown.
do we.
But go ahead. Sorry to
No,
interrupt.
that's okay. And we'll have Jenna talk about the ponds with the overflow, that question.
So in regard to the basins, without getting too engineering heavy on this answer, we've designed these ponds up to the 100-year storm event, which is the largest storm event that we would design for. These ponds all have 1 foot of freeboard from that 100-year elevation. So there's that kind of sense of security built into them as well. And then when we did the model, we made sure that we weren't increasing the flow or the volume to the design points in our analysis. So the abutting properties in this case.
And you have your roof runoff drainage going into those also.
The roof runoff is going into the dry wells that are located on each property.
Okay. So the dry well roof runoff drainage. So that water is gonna be taken care of. I know our engineer's sitting there. If he approved it, we've had a lot of issues with retention areas. Because unfortunately, we've been getting rain within many hours, with a few hours, we get a lot of heavy rains. And that's just as bad. So if the engineer's okay with it, I am, because I know he's had issues with other developments. So we are keeping our eye on the retention areas.
Okay, yeah, we, in collaboration with RIDEM, we also did add that the detention basin C to help mitigate the flow and slow down the flow and the volume. That was not initially in our design, and we've added that since in order to prevent concerns.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm actually gonna have Eli come up because the next question was the remediation of the glass, how that's gonna be handled. And then there was a question on sampling.
Do they have to state their name again? Are you? Okay. If you want, okay. If you want to state your name and address, please.
Eli Salisbury, 212 Lyon, Lyon Ave in East Providence. I wanted to clarify, it's not that only one single soil sample was collected here. DEM required at least one sample per proposed lot. We actually did we did 8 soil borings or test pits per lot. That was primarily to determine where the glass debris was. And then at least one sample per lot was submitted for everything on the direct exposure list and then even analytes that they don't even have standards for. The one sample I referred to is the one sample that had any exceedances. Again, that was the naturally occurring metals. That was from below the waste layer. And actually it's in the, I'll call it open space. I don't know if that's what it's technically considered, on the southern side of the intersection. So that's not even going to be a house lot, but either way, that's going to get excavated and disposed of. All the glass and trash processing is going to happen on site. The processed material is going to be stockpiled on site, sampled on site, and verified compliant before it's brought to the other property. And if for whatever reason it's not compliant, then they'll end up disposing of it, of that stockpile.
But either way, it's not. Either way, it will not remain on site. I think
Correct.
that was the question.
It's all-
You're
yeah.
bringing in fresh fill to replace it if
Correct.
it's needed.
I'm not sure what they're planning on bringing in volumes wise, but
Right.
any of the material that's excavated of the glass debris is going to get taken off site.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that?
And then I just want to ask one question, just in regards to sampling, all sampling that you did, it has, that's regulated and there's a certain standard in the industry that you would follow when you did the sampling.
Oh,
It's not like
absolutely.
you just decide where you're going to sample.
Right. We submitted a sampling scope of work to the solid waste section at DEM and they approved it.
So the
Thank you.
state is overseeing the process.
Yes. I think the next question was that there were 3 to 4 beds. I think yes. Garages, you can see on the site plan, there are little garages. There's a little square for them that's shown for each property. Traffic study, we had asked for that waiver from this board. We don't think we'd be contributing any additional noise that would be different than what already exists there today with just residential cars. And it's our opinion, we asked this board to waive it too, that the 18 lot subdivision with the way that it's proposed under Colvingtown Road wouldn't create any additional traffic hazard. The next question were the easement. I think that kind of a little bit speaks for itself, and the other butter actually came up too. And obviously we're looking to preserve his driveway. We don't want to put that access road there and take that away from him. He might struggle with his own off-street parking for his own lot otherwise. So we want to preserve that for him and work with him, whether there needs to be a point where we take a look, take it up, put it right back kind of thing. We'll work that out with him and we'll form an easement with him with all buffering and all that stuff that we discussed too for neighboring lots. Then final one, I think was someone talked about the easement area in the back, the ones around lot 11 and 12 that we had talked about that area. Just so that I state that we're looking to do an easement in the end because that's worst case scenario. In the perfect world, we will be acquiring that will become part of the lot and it will be through an administrative subdivision in a perfect world. But we plan for kind of worst case. So worst case, it would be an easement. And then I also do real estate closings. So I know they say it was in the best interest of the homeowner. The easement would be drawn up very strongly for that homeowner in perpetuity. And they would find that as part of their title search when they do a title. So anyone who buys that knows that that's the condition of the property, which would have in essence also affect the value of it. So they would be buying this knowing it, and there would be a perceived value that would be different as well. So I hope that answer, I think I got everything.
Can you
but if I
explain the
didn't-
size of the lots? Because it's a cluster, so it's an R2.
Yeah, so we got it from this planning staff report as well, that because it's an R2 and in a cluster, that we meet the zoning requirements for lot size, frontage, front yard side, all dimensional requirements and setbacks. Being resident, there's no special use permit required. So we meet all the zoning criteria as required as part of this.
Okay. Go ahead,
Can I
Rick.
just go back now, almost in reverse order. On the lots, I think the difficult thing for a layperson to understand. A difficult thing for a layperson to understand is when you go with a cluster, you can reduce the lot size in favor of the open space. So that I think is the answer to the question. The lots
Thank
are
you.
not all 1 or 2 acre because they're all going to be clustered at one end of the property, which actually benefits the town in terms of snow plow removal, trash pickup. They don't have to meander through all these streets, and then the open space is preserved in the back. So that's the reason for that. If we go back to the easement, and I do real estate too, I understand why, and an easement can be drawn up to get 99% of the bundle of rights. but it's just cleaner, I think, to do the acquisition. Unfortunately, and I think you can appreciate this, you got to go through a lot more to do an administrative subdivision to transfer a land than you do to just have somebody grant an easement. So if it's doable, I would prefer that. And then going back to my initial, and the more and more I think about it, if the intent is to preserve the driveway that's located between the Charlene property and the Calvintown Realty Trust property, that similarly could be done with an easement amongst the parties. And at the same time, since you own the land, you could have an emergency fire road as long as they're not allowed to put any structures on that property. And I just want to give you an example. I wasn't looking for a paved drive, but we've got a couple I know in my neighborhood where they've gotten into cul-de-sacs that are just about this length. And all it is it's just a gravel road wide enough and built sturdy enough to support fire apparatus, or in an emergency, if these folks had to get out of their property and road A was not open, they had a means of egress through the property. Now, again, I don't know how that sits with the proposed sediment trap and some of the other stuff, but certainly, and again, I got to go look at every plan set because there may be some other impediments that I didn't notice, such as grading and sloping. But if there was any way just to access that cul-de-sac along, I think it's lot 6, which is actually almost 2 acres. It's 1.78 acres. And the water line's going in there anyway, so no one should be building on it. And it's going to be access for Kent County Water Authority to go in and maintain the line. What would the harm be in just creating something that was, how would I say it, compacted enough to support fire apparatus or vehicular traffic to get from the cul-de-sac out to Calvintown Road, given that can't quite read all these dimensions, but it looks like, what do we got? 200, another 200. I don't quite know how long that road is, but it looks like it's a significant length if you include the portion of Road A from Calvintown to the turn at Road B and then Road B. That's kind of a lengthy distance for folks to be kind of stuck in there. And again, I'm just asking that you explore the feasibility. If you come back and say we couldn't even engineer it, then that's one thing. But if it's just, we don't want to spend the money. I mean, it's aggravation, but it's not like there's already, it's already encumbered with an easement for the water line, and you've already got a paved surface that's half the distance with their driveway. So all you would be doing is prohibiting anyone from putting any structures at that end and then constructing something through lot 6. So that's just a suggestion. I can think of 2 other locations, one of them on Mountain Laurel and the other one is South Pond, where South Pond, you can't even see the road. But the developer actually bought the abutting property and deeded himself back an easement. Go ahead.
So the applicant would be comfortable with looking into some options for emergency access. But this will also have to be worked in collaboration with RIDEM since we've already received our permit. So if we are able to add in the emergency site access, we can look at.
Yeah. And again, I was not looking for an impervious surface, just something, because again, if I look at the 2 examples I'm thinking of, and one of them goes over an old rickety bridge, they're just, and by the way, it's gated and locked. So, you know, there's what do they call those, fire gates?
Crash gate.
Crash gate. So it's not intended for public access or for folks to use on a regular basis, just in an emergency, and suitable for that 1 or 2 times the fire department may need to have a secondary means of getting in there.
Now, in this area, there are some walls located in this area. Some existing walls. Would it be a concern if the we would have to look at the viability of the width in these areas.
Yeah, if.
Or are you suggesting the grades require you to put a retaining wall along one of the property?
No.
There's walls already
There's
there.
an existing stone wall.
Within the easement that you granted to Kent County Water to excavate for a water line?
So if possible, I don't know your.
You would have
feelings
to
on-
grant you would just have to reserve a wider easement for emergency access beyond the Kent County water and not impact the wall, was what I was suggesting.
Right.
Only because lot 6 is 1.78 acres. I mean, if they were sitting on a half-acre lot, I can see where he's going to say, hey, but it looks like there's plenty of space there, unless I'm missing something. But again, you're more familiar with all the engineering drawings. You've got the sediment trap, you got the water line, you got the grades. So I just want to, again, if it's feasible, just to provide an area and then just label it as an emergency access only. And if you want to put a chain or something up between the property line or whatever back there, so it assures that homeowner, no one's going to use it on a regular basis, then that's what my intent in bringing that up was.
If we could have a condition be that we work administratively with the town on the feasibility and the town, with the town
Correct.
engineer,
Yep.
that way we don't have to come back before the,
I'm
okay, thank
assuming
you.
you want final administrative, if in fact it does.
Yes,
pass.
please, thank you,
Okay, so that I would be fine for me to do that administrative.
certainly.
As long as you show due diligence to try to do the best you can and on all the questions
Yeah.
that were
Because
were asked
also,
tonight. It sounds like you're gonna do that, so.
yeah, and also we'd have to ask the neighbor, I don't even know where he parks in his driveway, how that would work if he's parked in an emergency access needed, so we'll work with him too to figure that part out.
And that
What
wasn't my,
feasibility-
and that wasn't my intent. I think in an emergency, I mean, it can be a problem. I just meant if it was open. Obviously, if he's got 3 cars parked in the way, the fire department comes, they're gonna say, come move your cars, or they're gonna have to do something different. I didn't mean, I'm not looking to have them prohibit all
Okay,
use, just no structures.
okay,
And the removal of those islands will benefit
Certainly.
the fire trucks to go around those cul-de-sacs.
that's true.
That's another reason we don't want the islands there. So, anybody else have any questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and, not to dismiss the traffic study or lack thereof. I agree that, 18 homes and 36 cars. Really negligible as far as what goes on that road.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
you can come back up. I live on Collintown Road. Most of the traffic on that road is from the dumping site. So, but you can come back up.
So my
Let
con-
Mr. Anderson finish his thought, please.
So my concern with the lack of a traffic study is, maybe dismissing the amount of cars. Was this, when you're proposing that road, was there any prior traffic coming in and out of that area, or is this just a brand new entrance and exit point? Like this is a brand new road. Nothing was coming out at that point or near it within a quarter mile, I believe, or that property anyway. With recent past traffic. This is new.
Yes, this is new, yes.
Okay, so the sight lines, right? Traffic study is more than just peak hours and all, it's a sight lines, and I believe maybe it falls under the jurisdiction of our town engineer if there's not going to be a traffic study to go out there and just review the sight line. I see a slight elbow, I don't know how, what an angle that is, but we can't just dismiss the sight lines that might be affected or maybe some clearing be needed coming out of there. And lots of times a traffic study will even suggest signage, a little, maybe 100 feet prior to the access of the entrance.
Yeah, so we do, our property lot lines take on a large portion of that. I think it's like 257 feet on one side and almost 200 feet on the other. And we kind of have the preserved open space in front of those. So we could control that for sight lines for 200 feet on each side.
Sure. So my question is that fall under you or do you get direction from our engineer? Or is that come out of a traffic study? I mean, if somebody should suggest this is what it should be required, for this, whether it comes from our engineer or a traffic study. So if we don't do a traffic study, who would review that from, say, a town's jurisdiction or a management position?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the town engineer. So what I would appreciate is if they could look into the sight lines, and if the sight lines aren't sufficient, what clearing will be necessary in that buffer zone to make it work.
Sure. And to follow up, because I think the chair might agree, that road is so small and so busy that if a resident or I wanted to propose sidewalks, how does one person go about that? We have smart people in the room for anyone's edification. Do they go to a town council meeting? Do they send an email to somebody, if somebody did want sidewalks, just why people in the room are in the public hearing. I don't know how that would even get started.
Sidewalks to where though?
No, sidewalks?
Yeah, sidewalks to where? Calvin Town Road don't have a
He,
sidewalk.
he's suggesting what are the steps? It would be town council approval or money in the budget for the town to do it. There's no development taking place on Calvin Town Road.
Correct.
So that burden, the cost falls on the town.
Okay, so if somebody wanted sidewalks, do they think it's unsafe? They'd have to go to the town?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and the same thing is true for Hope Furnace Road, Black Rock Road, Station
Right.
Street, Calvin Town, all those roads that predate, when they
Yeah.
were country roads before all this development. And-
okay,
And we just haven't kept up with it.
okay.
No, I
Hill Street.
believe the developments that came in after Calvin Town Road it should have been addressed there with fair share development fees that could have been done like we did on Luba Road, doing that road.
Right, right.
But-
I just think tonight warranted a little discussion about, the possibility of what somebody might want to do, whether it's every resident on the road or not to get it going, and then also to confirm sight lines if we're not going to do a traffic study.
Thank you for that. Anybody else?
I just want to add to that because I'm sorry, when the traffic study item came up, I meant to kind of clarify something too. Just so folks know, I think we all agree there are going to be more cars on the road, possibly 36 cars at some point during the day. The traffic study is only going to provide us with an engineer's opinion as to whether or not the level of service, are we going to have clogging up at intersections? Is there going to be congestion at certain locations when you add that number of cars to an already heavy traveled road? I don't think anyone disagrees that Calvin Town Road is an extremely heavily traveled road now, and it certainly isn't ideal to have even more cars on Calvin Town Road. But is that the traffic study would present that information to us? Level of service at the intersection of 117 in various intersections. And then also, as Mr. LeVake indicated, it may make a recommendation based on the average speed the cars are traveling on Calvin Town, notwithstanding the posted speed limit, how much sight distance would be required at the approaches to that intersection to make it safe for cars to enter and exit. Is that fair statement?
Yes, yeah, there's definitely different forms of traffic study, but that would be like your
That's what we
extensive, like,
generally
the-
get. And I've
be
seen
all,
eight-
end all.
yeah,
Yes.
80 lot subdivisions coming out, for
Yeah.
example, on Crompton Road at New London Turnpike. And they say, well, the level of service is going to be about the same. You're still going to have a backup at a light where there's a backup today. This isn't going to change that. This isn't going to improve that. Eliminating these 18 cars or 36 cars is not going to make that road any safer to travel than it is today. We've got an issue, and I think the homeowner that lives there illustrated that it's not necessarily the passenger vehicles as much as it is the through traffic on Calvin Town, trucks and whatnot going up to Situate. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rick. I'm not gonna say anything more. I live on Calvin Town Road, but I can tell you that speeds are not kept at 25, but a lot of the traffic that aggravate me are the truck traffic. We got 48-foot dump trailers that I'm working with the DPW on. I actually call, I call the construction and actually deal with them because they're very good about safety. They hire these subcontractors, and I hear a Jake brake coming on, going around the corner on the southern end where I live. And I'll tell you, within 10 or 15 minutes, that traffic slowed right down. So they are very good. I have a direct line to them, and we're looking at weight limits on that road so you don't get those long dump trailers. 10-wheelers, yeah, you can do 10-wheelers, but I hear what she said. They're 50-foot trucks going down that road. That road in places doesn't even have 20 feet. So I just want to let her know I'm working on that. I live on that road, but yeah, it is a danger, but I don't think the cars coming out of that development are going to cause a problem. I think what's already existing is the problem. Thank you. Does anybody else want to come up? Come on up.
Nick Del Bracco, 104 Coven Town Road.
So I was looking at these plans last week when they first came out, and there was a plans that showed houses that encroached on the new property that, or the new development. And I was just wondering how those are gonna be handled. And I know that has nothing to do with me, but I was just curious how the developer is gonna work with that person that has that pool on that lot, the fences, the garage. The other thing is, are we gonna have any affordable housing in this 18 house cluster?
There's no affordable housing that I know of. We started with 20.
Because I know it, what was it? Teakwood?
Teakwood, there was no affordable. What's the name of the road? The end of Watercrest.
Watercrest,
There was
right.
one affordable for 76 units.
Okay.
But I can say that, if you want to come up and address the easement situation, is there some structures that you're aware of? I didn't
So
think.
if you.
They're right here. They're in the open
So the
space.
Plans, your plans that you have, I don't have it with me. I got it on my phone.
Did you see it on
Yeah,
open space?
yeah. No, yeah. It's on the, I'm sorry. Yeah, on plan number 5. And I'm sure, the folks on Watercrest Court are gonna be very appreciative of bringing that up. But yeah, it looks like, and I can't really tell, there's a vacant lot, and then to the right, this is Watercrest Court. It's probably, there's a cul-de-sac over there, so it's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th and 5th house from the cul-de-sac abutting this property, one looks like a shed, the next one looks like half the pool, and then the next one looks like another half a shed. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
sure.
it's in the open space. It's gonna be, I guess either the developer's gonna have to have the encroachments removed or grant them an easement in exchange for.
Because I know they were received letters when the solar farm was going up that said they had to cease the use of that.
No, it's a good
particular
question.
property.
That's certainly
I
a
do
good
have
question.
another question for you, Chairman, though. With you were talking about the roads and everything. So they paved half of Colvin Town, which was basically in front of where I live, 104 Colvin Town, and then going further down, they didn't even touch that. Are they gonna do that at all? Or do you- is there
I don't know
anybody
what the
who knows?
schedule is. That's where the money ran out, right
Okay,
there.
all right.
So I know that DPW was working. They did an analysis on the town. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we need about $50 million in road work.
Wow, yeah.
So they're picking away at it. We used to have a road plan
Mhm.
that this council is now putting in the capital improvement. If I'm not wrong, to address.
I believe a couple of $1 million in this budget.
And I actually know somebody on Calvin Town Road, they said, don't asphalt because it slows the traffic down. So,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, thank you.
thank you. So you want to address, can he just address those easements? I just want to know how you're going to handle the encroachments.
Any encroachments will handle with easements with people. I wasn't aware of any. I still,
Wasn't either.
I'm not exactly sure where it was on the plan either,
Sheet
but if
5.
it were, we'll address them.
Sheet 5
You know where they are?
is a pool and a shed, it looks like.
2 sheds.
Follow the red line. There's a garage.
Okay. Right here, maybe. Oh, okay.
That was a good question. I missed that.
I don't know.
It's
the
a
answer
civil
to that
matter.
yet. We'll figure it out with them. We'll work with the
You'll work.
neighbors in some way, shape or form. Yeah.
We could put that in our finding of fact.
Yeah.
If in fact it gets passed tonight, we can certainly put it in as a stipulation. Anybody else? Would you like to come back up, man?
Mary Ann Cicercia, Cicerchia. And the reason why I'm really bringing up the traffic study, and you explained it very well, it does have an impact on people who live on Calvin Town Road, 18 to 36 additional cars every day, back and forth a couple of times a day does have an impact. Again, we have no sidewalks on Calvin Town Road, that was addressed, but I have addressed it for years. We'll never have sidewalks on Calvin Town
agree
Road.
with
I
you.
know that.
I
But
agree.
it seems like Calvin Town Road in certain areas is becoming more narrow. I'm wondering, I don't know where exactly that street is going to go into the subdivision there. But is there a certain requirement, the width of the road? So when I'm driving my car out of there, and I've got to make a right-hand turn or left-hand turn, how wide is Calvin Town Road at that point? And again, because of the amount of traffic and trucks, and we're talking again, bigger than pickup trucks, speeding motorcycles fast on that road, you got to make sure it's wide enough at that point for cars to come out. To me, that would be part of a traffic study. So I was surprised and disappointed when they said that the planning board waived a traffic study. I am disappointed at that and at the planning board for that. But hopefully this brought up some issues and maybe you will take another look at it.
I used to have Officer Snow sit in my driveway. He actually moved on to I believe it's East Providence. And every time he gave somebody a ticket, it was somebody that lived in the area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a
So
lot of
people that are
speeding in
speeding,
there.
are people that live in the area.
Yeah, well, I had called, you brought up that you spoke with the gravel company. I had called the police department a few times because it just seemed there are days where there's one truck after another. And again, I live right at the stop sign there, so it's loud. And they do not address that. And they said the same thing, that there's more speeding
Well,
cars
there
from
will be
people who live there
addressed,
right
if you
now.
know what I call parade of trucks anymore. So DPW
Okay.
is working on that
I
with the
appreciate
vendor.
that. Mhm.
That they agreed that they shouldn't have done it that way. I mean, there was a parade of trucks.
Yeah.
I believe me, I seen them, they were by
Okay.
my house. So, believe me, I'm working on that. The town's working on it. They're taking it, very serious.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In regards to, so I am not an official traffic engineer, but based off of my engineering knowledge, the left and the right turns, so those, we can provide you with a truck turn analysis with a modeled car to show that the turn is doable with the constraints that we have shown on our plans. And we can do this with, from our civil engineering side of things without a traffic study as well, to show that there is sufficient area for turning out of the property.
That would be great. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chairman, I know that you had mentioned it would be part of the stipulation for those encroachments that we talked about, but I just don't know what that outcome would be. So I just want to ensure that the stipulation isn't that we do have to come to an easement, but just that we'll approach the neighbors and see if there's a resolution.
Right.
But I can't promise that one will be there, I guess, is all I'm
But
trying
you
to
can
say.
work with the administration on that.
Sure.
Yeah, well, my concern is, and again, it's not one of the house lots that you're gonna be selling, but now you've got encroachments already existing on the open space that each one of those homeowners is gonna have a 1/18th interest in. So,
Exactly. So we're gonna have to figure that out with them, what
Yeah.
the resolution could or could not be. But I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't want it to be a stipulation to come to an easement is all, because I don't know if
Because it could
that's
become
possible.
It could be removed.
Yes,
It could be
become
removed though.
civil.
My
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I don't
could
want
be
to,
movable.
right,
It might
I don't-
not be.
right.
Yeah.
I don't want to see. We saw it, so we approved the subdivision, 18 homeowners move in. God forbid something happens with the pool, somebody's liable, they go, oh, who owns the land?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we got 18 people dragged into a lawsuit because it wasn't addressed.
Yeah.
So that's why we'll stipulate that it somehow be addressed.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up. Oh, no problem. No problem.
Hi, Robert Brennan, 12 Teakwood Drive. Okay, just a couple of observations. I live, if you know Teakwood Drive, I look straight down Ivy. Okay, and I've also looked straight down Ivy when there was a house fire and everybody up there was trapped in. We had a major, I think it was a hurricane at one point. Oak tree came down across the beginning of Teakwood Drive, blocked everybody off, no outside access. Just want to take that into consideration when you're looking at the secondary road there. The other thing is just in considering the noise potential. Okay, you've got 18 houses going in there. I don't know how it is down at your end of Colvin Town, but I'm hearing lawn services 7 days a week, multiple times a day. I've got massive diesel pickup trucks that drive by my house. Okay, these are all personal vehicles, but it does have an impact. Okay, and I'm just offering that as observations, considerations. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Come on up.
Nick Del Braco, 104 Colvin Town Road. So, and one of these charts where it shows the septic tanks.
I can't see that one. You want to go over that?
It has the septics. You don't have to pull that up. But we were talking about clearing, we're talking about clearing, we're like basically done clearing the land, except for where it had to be done for the property. Right? So if you look at this lot here.
Lot
in the
6.
corner, down here in the corner, if you look at where they're gonna put, lot 6, you look at where they're gonna put their septic, we're gonna have to take down a large amount of trees to put that septic in that property. So I guess my question is, how much more chopping are you gonna do? And I have red flags, or everybody's got red flags all down their properties. If you could explain to me what those red flags are for, and I know they're not test tubes or anything like that, so that goes in the.
Right, and there's no further cutting going on. So if you want to come up and address it, I know you're good. You want to just tell them what the flags are. I know we have a no cut easement in there, so there'll be no further cutting.
I am not sure what the red flags are for. Because I'm not quite sure where the red flags are located.
Usually red flag.
Is that a wetland,
They could be.
for the wetland?
They could
The
be for the
wetland edge?
wetland if they're at the wetland edge. I'm not quite sure where they're located. So I just don't want to provide inaccurate information. And then in regards to clearing, the limit of work is not shown on this site plan, but the limit of work is shown on the other plan sheets. And any of the area that is located outside of that will be allowed to regrow and grow back in. And then the septic that is located in that area is within our limit of work.
Yeah, that, it shows it actually to be actually within even the building envelope. It's pretty far from the property line on sheet 9. So I don't know what sheet he was looking at, but it's pretty far.
Okay, thanks. I'll let you, one more time.
Oh, it's the same question.
Yeah, she didn't answer it?
Right, the red flags. Will someone get back to me on what those? red
Yeah, I
flags-
mean,
Maybe, Chairman, I could call you.
no, you can go right to the planning department.
Okay.
We don't have our director right now, so we're kind of,
So
but
just go-
they'll explain all that to you. Thank you. Anybody else? Cody, anybody on Zoom? Put your hands up. You bring them in, please. Michelle?
Hi,
Michelle?
Michelle Baum. Yep, Michelle Baum, 118 Colvin Town Road.
Can you please, oh, sorry.
Can you hear
Hold
me?
on 1 minute, Michelle. Try it now?
Okay, Michelle Baum, 118 Colvin Town Road.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if the red flags are the same as the pink flags he's talking about, but so any of those pink flags that are along the perimeter of where they've cut, and you're saying there's no more cutting, does that mean they will not cut anything past those pink flags going forward?
From what I understand, all the cutting has been done. There'll be no more further cutting on the property.
Okay, so whatever's there is gonna just grow back.
And we've also asked for a buffer. And the developer has agreed to that. He's gonna
Right,
work with the neighbors on some buffering.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And in regards to the flags, if we're provided photos or I just am not sure where the flags are located. Some of them, specifically the pink flags, may be wetland flags. Some of them may be limit of disturbance flags. So I'm just not
Some of the
quite
flags are
sure.
very confusing, so.
Correct. So if we're provided
I'm
with
not a
photos,
surveyor,
we can
But our
answer those
staff, our
questions.
staff can take care of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Anybody else on Zoom? Put your hand up. Okay, seeing none. Anybody else in the audience? Come on up, sir.
Daniel Largy, Largey. My concern is all those big, huge boulders. Are they all gonna be processed down to the gravel area? Or are they gonna be transferred down there or you be banging around all day? The jackhammering, you said. There's some big boulders in there. Bigger than-
I don't know. You can, well, some of the boulders are gonna stay, right?
There's some big boulders there.
I have them in my yard.
Any boulders that we don't have to move, we won't.
You won't.
Any boulders that do, I don't know how
I
where or
actually
where
like
they'll be
looking at 'em,
processed.
but my opinion. I
Yeah.
think it gives it a good character, but, yeah, I don't think they're gonna disrupt any of those. Come on up.
Nick Del Bracco, 104 Town Road. So there's gonna be no more cutting
No,
of trees.
no more cutting.
No, I mean, 100%, no more cutting of trees.
So I'm not quite sure if the clearing has occurred up to the shown limit of work on our site plans. There will be no clearing that will go beyond the limit of work as shown on our plans.
And there's a no cut easement. That's
And there is a no
State.
cut easement,
for the
correct?
people on Watercrest.
Correct.
Okay.
Nick Del Bracco, 104 Town. So I'm gonna go to the planning committee or the planning department and they will explain that,
Yes.
okay? So don't you think before we make a decision, we should have that answered, what these flags?
On the
mean? 'Cause
flag,
nobody
no.
knows what the flags mean.
No, I don't think that that's gonna interfere with our decision, no. Anybody else? Okay, I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
A motion by Mr. Clooney. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Kenny. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing is now closed. You have anything else to add?
Do not, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the board for your time.
Do you have any questions from the board? On any stipulations we're gonna add or?
I have one thing I forgot to bring up, and
Go
I don't
ahead.
know if you heard me, Mr. Brennan, on the earlier one. You may need to work with the post office on a location to install 18 mailbox on a freestand thing right at the entrance. They may not want to deliver mail into a cul-de-sac like that. They're
Yeah.
just not doing it anymore.
That's no problem. And
Yeah.
we saw that in the staff.
Oh, yeah, it is
condition
here.
as
You
well.
know, I'm just finding the second page because this is on the back. It's two-sided. And I had 3, and then I was adding the other things. Are there any other items? Or wait, are you requesting, let me see, waivers for the sidewalk standard was the one you're referring to, is the one inside the cul-de-sac, inside.
Yeah.
The cul-de-sacs we got, you're gonna eliminate the island in the middle and the drainage. So basically, at this point, with the exception of the sidewalks, there are 2 requested waivers. And other than the 5 things that, or 4 things that you are going to produce at final approval, the
Yeah.
site suitability, the remedial action work plan, the DEM confirmation on adequate soils, the maintenance agreement, and we talked about the traffic study. So I think we're good.
And the buffering.
Yeah,
Right, I got that screening. Yep, those are stipulations. I
and
got
we,
those.
we no longer actually need the remedial action one because we have that bud from DEM, so we actually can.
Oh, you
can
did? Okay,
cross
I
that
crossed
off.
off the King County. I didn't cross that one off. Okay.
Yes.
And I just want to, excuse me. I just want to make sure like you saw, and we probably discussed several things in the engine, Mr. LeVake's letter to the planning department with his stipulations. That was kind of in the director's staff report. He's
Uh,
got several of them.
Is that the email that you were talking?
No.
You said you were fine. with
Oh,
all
yeah, that, yes, the staff conditions, yes.
Okay.
And stipulations, we're okay with all of those, yes.
These, just to make sure we're clear, this was a memo to the planning department from the town engineer with things like
Asphalt surface course.
Oh,
A memo dated 5/3.
Yeah, it was a 3-page memorandum internal to
Those have been addressed.
Yes, thank
All of
you.
them.
Yeah.
All of them have.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, just making
I'm
sure.
sorry, yeah, I thought
Yeah.
you meant the staff report, I'm sorry, yes.
It was in here, so, we just want to make sure, we want to make sure before a motion's made that, you're just aware of the, stipulations, and clearly, you're aware of the 7 stipulations in the staff report.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the ones I thought you were referring to,
Okay.
sorry.
That's
yes.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary plan submission for a proposed major land development residential cluster known as the Calvin Town subdivision, owned by Calvin Town Realty LLC and Rockwood Realty LLC. The applicant Revity Energy LLC, assesses plat 85, lots 1 and 5.3, and assesses plat 92, lot 1, in the RR2 zone consisting of 44.95 plus or minus acres of vacant land. The proposed use is for an 18-lot residential subdivision. The proposal is to construct 18 lots as a residential cluster on the 44.95 acres with 23.99 acres, give or take, of open space. This project does appear to be consistent with the comprehensive plan in that a residential cluster subdivision as a means to preserve open space, that's D.4-5 and D.7-9, and to protect habitat D.6-18. This proposed 18-unit cluster development is generally consistent with the town of Coventry's comprehensive plan. The proposal will not likely have a significant environmental impact. The subdivision will be reviewed by the town engineer and RIDEM to ensure the project conforms to both state and local regulations with respect to stormwater management, on-site wastewater treatment systems, the quality of stormwater leaving the site, and the implementation of best management practices. The subject property is zoned RR2, and the proposed plan meets the dimensional requirements for a residential cluster subdivision in that zone. Traffic impacts were not addressed at great length of this application. The proposed number of lots does not indicate that will be significant impacts as to the level of service, notwithstanding some of the discussion tonight and a stipulation I'm going to add to this motion. The applicant has asked for, and this motion includes allowing them to waive the RIDEM site suitability or for on-site wastewater treatment systems until final plan submission. Also to, at final plan submission, provide confirmation from DEM on the adequacy of soils for an on-site wastewater system for each of the lots. To provide a residential cluster association and maintenance agreement. The motion comes with the following waivers: Article 4, 8.7 drainage facilities within 30 feet of a residential building, accessory structure, abutting property line. The proposed drainage complex A is proposed to be located against the property lines for lot 13 and 14 within the proposed subdivision. This is due to the utilization of an existing low spot on site for the proposed best management practices. Also, we'll grant a waiver for the cul-de-sacs that are to be constructed. The applicant is proposing 2 cul-de-sacs. We'd like not to have the island in the middle. They should be open so that we can pave. We're not going to waive the sidewalk requirement. Sidewalks that we requested at master plan need to be included. Let's see. The project will be subject to the fair share development fees. And as a condition of an issuance of a building permit, the applicable fees, including any road improvement fees coincidental to any road improvement recommendation by the town engineer or public works director, shall be paid separate and apart from any other fees required by a check payable to the town. Detailed building elevations for each facade shall be submitted at the building permit application stage. I already went over the items that we're going to submit at final plan review stage, which was the RIDEM site suitability, the RIDEM adequacy of soils for the on-site, and the residential cluster association and maintenance agreement. Sidewalks are going to remain. The applicant, tonight, I'm stipulating that they look at the feasibility of providing a second means of ingress and egress for an emergency only, that in some form or fashion, the traffic impacts be evaluated with regards to site distance as you approach the entrance to the subdivision from Calvin Town Road, and also the adequacy of the entrance for vehicles entering and exiting. That the applicant provide the necessary screening along abutting properties. I believe Mr. Flynn brought that up. There are 3 or 4 properties they've agreed to provide some type of deer resistant screening. General construction procedures and specifications for construction of any required improvement shall be adhered to in accordance with town regulations. Permanent open space areas be held in common ownership by the residential property owners. Homeowners Association documentation shall be prepared for the approval by the town, and the final version shall be recorded in the land evidence records. In addition, any draft legal documents describing the property, proposed easements and right-of-way dedications, restrictions, and other required legal documents, including any deed restrictions and residential cluster development agreements, need to be submitted as part of the final plan application. Streetlights shall be required on the intersection of roads A and B, and another in the area of lots 4 and 5 opposite the fire hydrant. Before I go on, is this consistent with the approval that you got from the fire department? Okay. Final plan applications submittal shall be include consideration for such requirement, including their type, wattage, installation, and related specification detail. The type of pole and fixtures shall be approved by the town engineer, shall be downshielded LEDs at the lowest level of wattage possible without compromising the light's purpose for safety, a provision for emergency services, and a provision for public works functions. Installation of the light's base, conduits, poles, and fixtures shall be accomplished by the applicant during construction. And a cluster mailbox that meets the USPS guidelines serving the lot shall be proposed nearest the intersection with Calvin Town Road, and not within any designated buffer area or non-motorized trail path or easement. I think I got everything. And I'd like to incorporate the planning director's report into my motion. And the one thing I did omit was that the applicant has agreed to somehow address the encroachments that currently exist on the proposed open space lot in some form or fashion. And you may proceed to the final approval administratively. Yes, sir. Sorry.
That's the one that we.
They're actually including.
They're in the director's report.
And I believe they've been addressed. But if you want me to go the belt and suspenders route, I can certainly add that before we have a second. I can certainly add.
Yeah, why don't you amend? the
Yeah,
motion to
and
add
yeah,
that?
yeah. And I would like to amend my motion to also include to ensure that all of those items contained in the interoffice memorandum from the town engineer to the planning department dated May 3rd, 2023, which is 3 pages, are all addressed prior to final approval.
The island.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Clooney. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Reyes. Any discussion?
the final plan review stage, the remedial action and plan approval, and the Kent County water, because we don't have it. for tax.
They have Kent County water
They
approved.
have.
And the remediation is gonna be watched by the state. The
Okay,
state
so
is,
we don't need to make sure that it's in there to make sure that it gets.
no, I don't
I
believe.
just wanted to make sure.
No, good observation. I have a motion, I have a second by Mr. Ray's. Any other discussion?
I just have one item because I know it came up from someone in the public. So once this approval, if it passes, occurs tonight, they still have one more step, which is the final. So the point is, those things that you want to go discuss with the planning department individually to ask, they can address those prior to the final plan approval, which they will be granting in the office. It won't come back to this board. But there, just because this is done tonight doesn't give them carte blanche. They don't have to address those items. Okay?
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a plan.
We all set? We good? Everybody good? Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. Development plan and review, proposed 50 by 100 commercial garage, owner Mike's Professional Tree Service and Company, applicant Mike's Professional Tree Service and Company.
Hey, folks, could you take your conversation out in the hallway, please?
I was speaking louder.
Clear the room.
Proposes an additional 50 by 100 8-unit commercial garage, AP 44 Lot 1, Unit 3, Zone Industrial 1, 75 Airport Road.
Good evening.
Name and address, please.
For the record, Timothy Behan, Behan, with the firm Commonwealth Engineers, Providence, Rhode Island. Okay, tonight we're here for development plan review. It's a proposed equipment garage and commercial storage building. It's located at 75 Airport Road. It's in an industrial complex. It's zoned Industrial 1. And as previously stated, the owner is Mike's Professional Tree Service. We're showing the existing conditions plan on the TV screen. The site is 16.33 acres in size. There's two existing buildings. One's 5,810 square feet, and there's one 10,000 square foot building. Right here. As you can see by the aerial photo, the site's been used for quite a long time already. It's fully developed. The site has two curb cuts off the roadway within the condo industrial development. The site has a pond, as you can see, kind of in the middle of the site there. That's a man-made pond. They dug into the sands there. But it is regulated by DM now. That does have 100-foot jurisdictional area. Jurisdictional area just means if you propose new work in that area, you need a permit. Back in 2013, when Mike's put up the original building, and came before the Coventry boards for that building. We did get the wetland permit associated with all that work around the pond. And the existing, during that wetland permit back in 2013, we also put in two dry hydrants for fire suppression. Okay, and if we go to the proposed plan, the applicant is proposing a second 10,000 square foot building. And you can see it, it's just above or to the north of the existing building.
So it's the same building. The proposed building's 10,000. And not sure if you have photos. Do you have any of the photos of the building? If not, I have a.
Well, it already consists of a 5,000 square foot, I think.
Well, it's got both. It's got a 5,810 square foot building near the entrance. And there's a 10,000 square foot building on the south end of the property. And this is it. This is already there. This is a 10,000 square foot
Right.
storage building. As you can see it, this is the front with the garage doors, and they have a little entrance door. And this is facing the pond, that direction.
Okay.
And this is what the rear looks like.
Tim, what are the dimensions of the building?
The dimensions of the building are 10,000 square feet, 200 feet long, 50 feet wide.
Okay, see, this is the issue. And again, not the planning department. There were typos in the last motion that I was
Okay.
We've got 50 by 100, 5,000 square foot commercial building as the matter that's before us. So you could proceed.
Yeah.
But we may have to re-review some of this before we get too far along. And is this the same site we were just at? Maybe within the last couple of years, we went there on a Saturday morning. He showed us how he was
Yes.
coloring the mulch.
We had a pre-app here, correct.
And it was for this? Was
No,
it?
was for the wood, it was for the mulch area, I think.
Was it for zoning or was it for plan?
Well, I don't
We were
remember,
there,
but I
so it must
see
have
over
been
here,
in
he's
front of
got these
planning.
asphalt
we were
pavers.
on it.
Yeah.
I remember, it was March, April, it was
Yeah.
early spring.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, just before, I don't mean to get too technical, but I see you mentioned the wetland jurisdictional area, which
Yes.
goes around the pond, but then in the middle of that, it looks like he's got about 10 existing parking spaces and a whole operation. That's all
Yeah, that's
permit-
under the wetland permit.
That's all permits.
Oh, yeah, that's all permitted. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I-
Yeah, so
we
you
got
can
the wetland
proceed.
permit, even his building, this was under the wetland permit, the original building.
Yeah.
The parking spaces, all his work activities,
Okay.
DM is out there. He's actually got if you look close, a concrete block, those big
Yeah.
concrete blocks around the whole pond. So I guess, he worked it out with DM to keep him out of the pond, right? So,
200 by 50.
So I guess what Rick and myself, the agenda does not state the correct dimension of the building. Mr. Solicitor, can we change the dimension of the building here, or can they do that administrative? That is a development plan or review, so they wouldn't be coming back.
Well, hang on.
Just have it-
No. You got a good question, but let's give the solicitor all the background.
Yeah,
The agenda was originally posted last week and was already corrected once for this issue. And it appears that it still may be flawed because the new public hearing says proposed 50 by 100.
what is
The,
the old one?
the old one said, where is it? Sorry.
On the end.
Oh, yeah. What? The old one said 30 by 75 office building proposed and a 50 by 50 garage. And then that was amended to a new agenda that came up.
that's
with
years and years
last-
ago, though. That's the original building.
This is the
Oh.
problem, Tim.
Okay.
We don't have a planning director.
Yep.
The associate left.
Yep.
So some of the typing got a little shoddy.
All right.
So now we've got an issue with the agenda and the planning director's report. And I'm
Okay.
just concerned as far as how much we can act on if this was not posted properly, but I'll defer to the solicitor.
Okay.
Given the evidence, then I would suggest that taking the public hearing, continue it to the next public hearing for decision, so now be corrected.
Well, we won't have another public hearing on a development plan or review. This is it tonight.
Well, what he meant was we're gonna have to table the public
Do we
hearing.
have to have another meeting?
I'm just concerned that the public would not have this information.
Hmm.
Effective approval.
Yeah.
I suggest make the amendments tonight.
Okay.
Take the information tonight. Take the full presentation tonight. And the only purpose of it being continued is to continue the public hearing, corrected agenda. Assuming you want that.
Oh, no, that's why you're here. I'm certainly taking your,
I'm suggesting that you actually make your presentation, have them correct all these. It appears there's two major problems, right? The agenda and the plan. Planning report, public.
Okay.
May or may not see, but the plans and Mr. Bain, we should make it clear for the record. Anybody who watched, that Mr. Bain and Mr. Behan's plans are accurate. There is an accurate description of the building. It's just a print.
Yeah. So if I think I understand you correctly, he can proceed to present to us what the proposal is. We just can't vote or open a public hearing. Okay.
You let him put all the information on, make sure everything's corrected,
Mhm.
and then you continue the public hearing to the next meeting, And at that.
28th. Okay, I got it.
Rather than, he's been here all night, I think. But rather than have to do this all in one. I mean, it's up to you, but I would think you want to get this. You're gonna have to come back anyway. Come back anyway.
I know what you're thinking.
I know.
It's supposed to be painless tonight.
My concern is that
I can tell the applicant, it's not the planning board's fault.
we've got a
hear you.
We,
I hear you.
we've got a 6-page planning director's report, and
Yeah.
quite honestly, I'm just not sure how much of this is accurate and how much isn't. And I think it's a big ask to have the board go through and try to catch everything, or hand this to you and have you say, yeah, that's right, that's wrong. And then act on it. And then find out we missed something. That's my only
I
concern.
don't want to be accused of harassing Mr. Beard, but.
Yeah,
we
where
had-
is he?
We had no control over it. I'm sure he's listening. This was supposed to be a painless event. We didn't do a site walk.
Yeah.
But it's- as the solicitor said, I mean, it's, the figures are not
So
right.
the actual notice that went out says 5,000 or something?
The abutters know that.
50 by 1.
Did the abutters get? They got served everyone within 200 feet?
Yes, 6 people.
Do we know what the notice says?
He just said.
No, he's looking at the agenda.
I'm looking at the agenda, that's.
He's concerned that the notices that went to the abutters may have the wrong area as well. Well, that's what I was looking for. We've got proof of who got them, but I don't think we have a copy of the notice.
There is in the application a copy of the return. So the return. Yeah, we got that. It doesn't have a copy. Again, I just think to be proceeding.
What? Could we get approved tonight by 100 and come back to the next?
What's the point?
If I could make a suggestion. If I could make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Would it be a problem coming back next month? Or could we, I'm sure that we could do a special meeting. If we say what date it is tonight, and just have Mr. Beard on that one meeting. I
would-
hate to me, you gotta come back anyway, from what I understand.
Amend the agenda.
Right,
Continue the public hearing so they don't have to re-advertise the notice.
okay.
And then we would just.
Then we can continue it, so he doesn't have to renotice.
Well, we'd like to know if those notices.
That's another.
We don't know.
I know there's only,
The only five people would say,
won't have to be advertised. You continue to amend your agenda on the record. Public who was noticed
Okay.
today now have a notice of the corrected agenda. Then you continue to a date certain for the public hearing on the corrected agenda. Now, the only other question we don't know is the people that you'd be abundant, you send them a 50 by 100 notice or a 100 by 200.
Don't know.
If you
Don't
send them
know.
a 50, then you have to send them.
Yeah, so we could stipulate that.
We'll be fine.
We'll,
It wasn't a lot. Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
we'll put you on the agenda.
No, then he would have to re-advertise.
All right, so.
I get it, I get it.
Here's what I'm gonna suggest. If you wish to proceed, I would be willing to make a motion to amend the agenda to reflect, I'm sorry, I need my agenda. To reflect this application for development plan review, that the agenda for item 10.3 I'm sorry, I don't even have the right agenda. Do you got it? 10.3 for a oh, this one wasn't right. This, oh, yeah, okay, that the development plan review be for a proposed 50 by 200 foot commercial garage, the owner being Mike's Professional Tree Service, Inc. Applicant the same for the proposed 50 by 200 foot 8-unit commercial garage to be added on to the existing, which is the same size, Assessors Plat 44, Lot 1, Unit 3, Zone Industrial 1, 75 Airport Road, Unit 3. And that if I amend the agenda, we will allow you to make your presentation tonight, subject to reviewing and sending new notices if necessary. And we will then continue the public hearing until June 28th, and we'll do our best to get it early
It
on
will
the
be
agenda.
first.
Okay,
It will be
okay.
first.
If that sounds reasonable, I'll make that a motion.
I don't see how else we can do it.
But it's 50 by 200. That's the correct
10,000 square feet, 50 by 200,
All right.
correct.
10,000. All right, just want to make sure. Yep.
It's correct. It's eight units.
So the dimensions are the only thing wrong on our agenda.
Correct.
Okay, you want to, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll restate it. My motion is to amend tonight's agenda, item 10.3, down for a public hearing, development plan review. It should be revised to reflect a proposed 50 by 200 foot commercial garage. The owner being Mike's Professional Tree Service, Inc. Applicant is the same. He proposes to build an additional 50 by 200 foot 8-unit commercial garage to be added on to the existing similar building at that site, Assessors Plat 44, Lot 1, Unit 3, in the Zone Industrial 1, 75 Airport Road, Unit 3, with the understanding they'll review the notices that were sent to the abutters, send them corrected notices if necessary, and we will allow the presentation to continue tonight, and I would incorporate a continuance of the public hearing until our next meeting on June 28th, 2023.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Clooney. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mrs. Elderkin. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All
Okay.
right, so you want to continue now?
Yes.
I'll open up public hearing once you're done and the board has the questions answered. We'll open up public hearing and then we'll continue the public hearing. So you won't have to re-advertise to June 28th.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, we'll continue with the proposed plan. Once again, the applicant is proposing a 10,000 square foot building with 8 units. Parking wise, there's plenty of space on this property. The plan shows we need a required 24 spaces by the zoning ordinance for this new building. And we're providing 41 exterior spaces. And there's 8 spaces inside the garage building. The electric is coming from an existing electric transformer. If you look on the site plan, the existing transformer is situated right here. It's already there because that's servicing the existing building. So we'll be bringing in a new underground electric service from that transformer into the new building. Stormwater is designed so there's no increase in runoff. And the stormwater consists of under the parking areas, a crushed stone reservoir. So the site is graded from the building down to the edges. The edges have a concrete block, those 2x2 concrete blocks on both sides. The runoff goes towards those blocks. Before the blocks, we have crushed stone trench, goes down into the crushed stone underneath the parking area. And so there's no increase in runoff. And sheet 4 or 5, the plan set has the soil and erosion control plan, which once the DPR is approved, we need to submit to the town before the building permit process to get the soil erosion control permit. These buildings do not have employees there all day. These are equipment storage buildings. So there's no bathrooms proposed, just like the existing building. And there's no water supply for potable water. So it's pretty basic, simple site plan.
Did you address Mr. McGee's reference to the gravel road to be maintained to 20 feet? I don't know if you.
I did not see anything from Mr. McGee. No, I did not see that yet.
That was his only concern.
Okay, so it's maintaining existing gravel road and the vegetation, to keep the site distances, things like that. We can add that note to the plan set for final,
Okay.
because this is going back for final administrative review.
Well, yeah, really, it's just,
Yeah.
really the finals in the development plan and review.
Correct,
You're
yes.
gonna be coming back and then
Yep.
administrative will.
Yep,
we'll
we'll
do the
take care of
housekeeping.
that. That's simple, straightforward.
Yeah, I wish you didn't have to come back, but under the circumstances, I didn't catch it. I didn't know that there was a
I
dimension.
read the staff report and I didn't catch it. So, boom, right over my head too. Yeah.
Okay,
Comments from the engineer as well. Do you have those ones?
are you
Oh.
all?
We got comments from the engineer. They have been addressed
Okay.
with the plan
He's
set you
been
already
out
have.
there. Out there.
Yeah, Tim and I had a couple of discussions and he clarified a lot of the comments I had and we did some rework and I'm satisfied with it.
Right, and if they have to remail for the 5 abutters.
It is what it is.
If
We'll
the
take a look
informa-
at
I
that
don't know if
notice.
it Was on the letters, we just want to
Yeah.
make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that-
Um,
those are butters, you'll know if it's not.
I mean, I don't see anybody here, but they could be on Zoom. We didn't get to that yet, but I want to make sure everything is addressed correctly.
So what do you have for utilities? Just the electric coming in the back, the overhead wires?
That's
Those-
it. No
that's it?
septic and no water.
So what do they have? Do they at least have porta johns up there? I mean, that's a lot of employees. Probably haven't seen them.
I did not see a porta
I
john
mean, 'cause
at the
he's up there
10,000 square
operating
foot
that-
building.
He's up there operating that mulch operation all day.
Yeah. But his office is right down the street, so the guys may just hop in their truck and go at Reservoir Road.
Right, he has a house.
I didn't look at the existing building areas close. I know I did not see anything down by the new 10,000
Yeah.
square foot building.
Dude, Miss Mike, he comes to all the other meetings that we have. He's the
He
applicant.
said he's not
doesn't
coming
come.
tonight, so.
Like I say, I apologize. I
Yeah.
really do.
And just for,
Unfortunate.
and just for my knowledge, that if you can, that building's going right up against the other one?
I believe there's a 4-foot gap.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna, I was figuring.
There's a small
Yeah,
gap,
'cause I
4 or 5 feet, something
think
like
the
that.
code, it can only be so,
Yeah.
okay. Not attached.
Any other questions? Why open up public hearing? All right, I'll have entertain a motion to open up public hearing.
I'll make a motion, to open up.
I have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mrs. Alderson. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now open.
Motion to continue public hearing, June 28th, 2023.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to, do we open up public hearing for questions? I want to wait till the solicitor comes back.
Oh, you guys had questions? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know if somebody could be on Zoom. You know, I want to just make sure this is right. Is there anybody? Okay, so again, well, I'll entertain a motion to continue public hearing.
So moved. To
To
June 28th.
June 28th.
28th.
Good.
Good.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue public hearing to June 28th. I had a motion by Mr. Clunian, and I have a second by Mrs. Elderkin. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Motion carries.
Very good. All right. Appreciate it.
We'll
If
keep this.
if Mr. Beard has to mail out those, I'll provide the stamps. How's that?
Mhm.
Well, you're gonna be sorry. It's certified mail at $7 a piece.
I just wanted
$42.
to understand that
I get it. It needs to be done. I
okay,
know.
you get it.
I get it. I get it.
I saw you here,
Oh,
Stan.
no, wait a
No, we have.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Where's my agenda?
we have director's report.
We don't have it. Motion to table the director's report.
Yeah. We don't need a motion. We don't have a director's report. There's no director. Joe, you don't have anything on director's report?
No,
Okay. Okay, so, we still have public comment. Zoom. Anybody on Zoom for public comment? All right. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
A motion to adjourn by Mr. Kenny, second by Mr. Ray's. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries.